with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 2. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Jason Strudwick. What an afternoon we're about to have.
What are we doing here? Why are we all wearing, Hayes and I are both wearing black T-shirts, and Struddy's got some kind of, zip-up black quarter zip. What is going on here?
Why not? Why not? Styles. We got style. What's wrong
Eli
with that?
Manning special, right? You get the quarter zip. That's what the Mannings wear. I'm a big fan of Eli. Obviously, you guys, I'm not sure which teams you cheer for, but those championship pedigree, it works, right? I'm trying to follow those guys.
You're not wearing khakis, though. There's 0% chance you have khakis on under that quarter zip. There is some kind of, loose shorts or maybe even boxers at most right now.
You can't. I don't get the khakis. I don't get it, man. If you're into khakis, I get it, but I just don't see it. I don't. Pleats, I guess, Hayes, you probably have some that have nice pleats on them still. Whatever works for you.
I'm not a huge khaki guy either. I had the luxury of meeting Jack Nicklaus about a year and a half ago. It was a really, really great night. It was really exciting. And I stepped out. I'm like, I don't know why I thought khakis were the play. I wasn't myself. I'm like, I got to impress Jack Nicklaus, and he's probably going to be in khakis. I don't know where. My head was spinning.
Khakis?
Yeah, I got to a place where I'm like, I'm going khakis. And they were the wrong khakis. It was a bad look. I made an awful call. I had a yellow tie because I figured he'd appreciate yellow, and it was just one of the bigger mistakes I've ever made in my life.
So you're telling me you met Jack Nicklaus and you went khakis and a yellow tie. I don't care what else you're wearing. There's nothing that could salvage that.
It was an absolutely horrible decision across the board. I overthought it because I don't really think or care about anything. Quite frankly, I'm very lucky. I try to wear, the best clothes I can. I try to look as good as I can. I get it. We're on TV. We do have an image to consider here. But in terms of going to events or whatever, I just try to look proper, try to look clean and go. I don't really put any thought into any of that kind of stuff. I'm not an overly stylish guy. This was I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm going to meet the Golden Bear. I'm going to meet Jack Nicklaus. What's this? What am I supposed to wear? This overthought it completely. And I twisted my little peanut of a brain into a position where I thought khakis and a yellow tie. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I ruined
tough,
everything.
man.
I ruined the evening. It was a lovely evening otherwise.
You were thinking about what would Jack want to see from me. What you weren't thinking is what are the power rankings of pants? Because if you're doing that, what's your first overall pick when it comes to pants? Your Connor McDavid. It's like a nice jean that's kind of tight but has the stretchy material.
Right.
And it's
on the darker side. Looks great.
On the darker side, or it's like the Lululemon pants that look good. You can wear them with a suit if you really wanted to. Those are your two options. But you kind of went to the fifth overall pick.
Oh,
you jumped the line,
dude.
Yeah.
It was an absolute butchering. It was the Alex Degg of picks.
Anyone else have the same gear? Anyone else steal your look? Was
some
someone
guys in their 80s and stuff. That was another thing. I was the youngest guy there. They're look at this loser. Older guys who are esteemed.
Hayes, Jack, Sandy Lyle.
Exactly. There I am, the Dockers, khakis, me, Jack, and Sandy, and then everyone else is what's with these? What a loser. So anyway, I try to avoid the khakis as much as I can. The quarter zip is big. Love a quarter zip. I have a million of them. The Peter Millar quarter zips are the best things going. I will wear them consistently throughout the fall and into the winter when I'm not wearing suits. And I should have just worn a suit. It would have been more reasonable to just wear a complete suit. It would have been it's a good look. Better than a khaki, a bad khaki too. Brutal khaki.
No, man. If you're going to do a khaki, it's got to be super kind of modern and trendy. And I don't think you don't just pull that out of a drawer.
No, you're right.
If you're a guy that's not khaki guy. If you're a khaki guy, you have the new one that's nice, tight, and tapered. Mm-hmm. You don't just have it, though. That's a destination piece. You had to acquire that, for a specific purpose.
You're right. And like khakis, that used to be the look for hockey guys, right? All three of us were all of a different age, but kind of a similar generation where that was the play when you were a kid, right? You'd go khakis with a tucked-in golf shirt, and you look good, and you get the new haircut, and maybe the owner of the team was there or whatever. And when they'd show up, I'm sure back in 98 for the 98 Olympics, they met in the summer of 98 or summer of 97. I'm sure they were wearing khakis and golf shirts. It doesn't appear as if that's what they're wearing today. They're all out, I believe, in Calgary, right, is where the orientation camp is going on. The men's.
That's out west. That's out west. Canada.
Yeah, it's somewhere. Yeah. It's west of Mississauga. So I don't know exactly where it is, but it's west of Mississauga somewhere. It could be in London, Ontario, Windsor. It could be in Saskatchewan. It could be in Calgary. Who knows? But they look good. They got the quarter zips going out there with the Canada emblem, the Hockey Canada emblem, and McDavid's up there. And we have to start with this, Strud, because this is perfect timing for you to be here. I appreciate that the media, they open it up to the media, and they just start rifling 100 miles an hour on the block at him about his contract and whether or not he's going to sign and how he's going to handle it. And here's what Connor McDavid said earlier this afternoon.
Connor, we'll talk lots of Olympics, but do want to get to the contract situation. Maybe just give us a sense of where things sit right now, how you feel, about what Stan has done. And, if you're optimistic that a deal will get done before the season starts.
Yeah, not even a softball Olympic question for me to start, huh? But that's okay. Right into it. Yeah, no. I said at the end of June, I had every intention just to take my time with it, and I still feel the same way. Take my time and go through everything, and I have every intention to win in Edmonton. That's my only focus.
All right, Strud. Take it from there. What do you make of that comment from Connor McDavid?
First off, that was my boy Ryan Rashog. Welcome back, Connor. It's great to see you. Are you going to sign? Right at him, and I love it. He's going down there with an agenda.
Me too. I love it.
Got the question there. Connor's been very consistent in the way he's approached this negotiation. He said that he likes in Edmonton. He's talking about taking the time. He's talking about his priority is winning. So I don't think there's really a lot to really maybe try to read between the lines here on. I like that he said my only focus is to win in Edmonton. Now, some people might interpret they got to win this year or he's gone. Or if you do win this year, maybe he's gone. I think others might look at it and say, well, he wants to win in Edmonton. That might take, more than just this year. It might take longer than that. So I don't he's been obviously coached or thought of his responses to these situations because he's been very consistent there, Frankie.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know what more he was supposed to say, right? He knows the question's coming. He knows that it's going to probably keep coming, especially if this is something that persists into training camp. And ultimately, the answer can change very quickly. The answer changes as soon as Connor McDavid picks up the phone and says, guys, this is what I want to do. Because there's really, how much of a negotiation can there possibly be? It's this is what Connor wants to do. So you guys, we got to do it or we don't. And that's what the Edmonton Oilers will ultimately do. I don't know. There's really not much more that you could expect him to kind of outline in detail in a situation like this.
Here's the thing. In terms of leverage, I think you bring up a very valid point and an important point that we all know. It's common knowledge. All of the leverage is in the side of Connor McDavid. He will determine what's going to happen here within reason. The other side's, if he comes to him and goes, I want 20% of the cap on a one-year deal or something, they may push back and say that's not reasonable. But I think both parties are going to be reasonable. But clearly Edmonton will do whatever they can to make him happy and whatever they can to keep him throughout his career. I mean, I think we all know that. So with that being the case, the floor is available to him to say anything he wants. And he's not going to lose leverage. In other words, if he showed up and said, not worried about it, I'm going to retire an Oiler, we'll figure it out, they're not picking up the phone in Edmonton saying, oh, this is great, we're going to lowball you now because you said you're going to stay here throughout your career. So the door was open for him to say anything. This is clearly planned. It was clearly schooled and coached. And he said, I have every intention to win in Edmonton. That isn't, I'm going to be here forever. That's not going to be, I'm staying until we win. That to me sounds a little bit different than maybe what I would want to hear if I'm in Edmonton. But what I do appreciate, and I hope this is what he's thinking, is he's going to keep putting pressure on the team to make sure that they put him in a position to win. Like, that would be the message I would get. And I'm sure Jeff Jackson knows that. Stan Bowman knows that. But last time I checked, their goalies are still Skinnerd and Pickard, right? Like, I don't think they've changed their goaltending. They haven't done a ton this offseason. They've lost some guys, but they haven't done a ton. Strider, you can speak to it better than I can in terms of the mood there, in terms of what they've done to put themselves in a better position. Albeit they've been to back-to-back Cup finals. We're not talking about a team with 85 points that just wants to make the playoffs. We're talking the thinnest margin that they need to improve upon. But the door was available and open for him to walk through and say, I'm an Oiler. I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure it out. He did not say that. And that doesn't mean he's leaving, but it does possibly mean he's playing a game here, which I think is reasonable for him to play. Keep putting pressure on them.
Yeah,
you better help me win. Like, and if you don't, there's no guarantees I'll be here forever.
No, and I agree with that. And I think that's, when you're a lead player, and we went through the top 7, 8 centers a couple days ago. It was released by various members of the media and outlets. And everyone in the top of the list had a Stanley Cup except for Connor, Leon, and Austin Matthews. Now, Austin, I don't have him quite in that, and this
He's not
isn't trying to beat him up, but he hasn't been close. Like, so again, that's not a shot. It's just trying to lay it out here is that those other two guys have been really close, but they don't have that cup yet. So for them, it's really, really important. But if you go back and listen to when Leon Draisaitl was in the same situation, a year away from becoming an unrestricted free agent, he sang from the same hymn book, right? He said a lot of same things. I got to do some research. I got to figure out what I want to do. I'll talk to my family, and there's no guarantees. And then once he signed, I never wanted to leave. This was my favorite place. And so I think that these guys, I don't think you want to tip one way or another, which way you go. And I think everyone agrees that he will sign. He being Connor McDavid will sign an extension. Now, 8 years, 4 years, 2 years. I can't tell you. I'm not. That'd be a question for Darren Drager and CJ and guys like that. But I think that for him, he's trying to just be consistent with his messaging, knowing that everyone's going to try to, figure out everything he says. And the thing for the Oilers, when you look at their offseason, I think that their D is better today than it was at the start of last season with Wallman. I think a healthy, some of the guys being healthy. But the question are some of the guys like Trent Frederick, Isaac Howard, and Matt Savoy. If two of those three guys, now Trent's, I think he's going to be better because of injury.
He's signed, right? He's not going anywhere.
And I think he'll be a better version of himself. But Frankie, if one of those two guys, Howard or Savoy, can become a regular in this lineup, that'll be huge. Doesn't mean they both won eventually, but young players, it's tough short term to say, yep, these two guys are in there and you're going to score 20 goals. But if one of them can be a regular, now I think you might, because Kane wasn't with them all year last year, guys. Keep that in mind.
Right.
He didn't play the whole year. Corey Perry, he was great. He was so good. But $3 million, that's a hard one to sell, right? It's hard to bring that back.
For sure.
So there's a lot of, I think the team is different. But the centers are still there. The D are great, and now the goalies have a different goalie coach, which I think goalie coaching
is that
can
enough,
make
though?
a difference.
Like, that's the one thing. If you're McDavid and you're looking at the same two goalies,
yeah,
I'm surprised by that, Strady. I'll be honest. Based on what Bowman said at the end of the year, he said, I'm pretty sure he said there needs to be change at that position, if I recall correctly. Now maybe he would indicate that has happened because they have a new goaltending coach, but that would seem somewhat misleading. I mean, the idea that Skinner and Pickard are going to get another kick at the can, I get it. They've been to Cup Finals 2 years in a row. I get it, but I don't know how much confidence these guys are going to have in them for another 82-game grind. I guess the playoffs.
In a world where, if you looked at the goaltending landscape, and I don't agree with this, but maybe this is what they'd be thinking. The moves that we could have made at the goaltending position don't significantly help us because there's warts with other guys that maybe we could have acquired. Like John Gibson goes to Detroit. He's had health issues, and his numbers haven't been, what they should have been for the last 6 years, call it, right? So you look at it and you say, okay, let's do the goaltending coach first. And then if that doesn't work, then we have no other choice. There's no other stone left unturned here when it comes to this position. Then we have to make a move. The thing about McDavid, though, saying about winning in Edmonton, if you looked at, let's use the Tavares example on the island. I don't remember him ever saying, I want to win in Long Island. It was always, I want to be here. I want to be here. And then all of a sudden, when you weren't there, it was like, well, what happened? Why'd you flip it? You never wanted to be anything other than an Islander. I think with McDavid saying, I want to win here, it opens the door for, the team didn't really position us well to win in the long term. It was like, let's throw some players at this thing every year and see what happens. And I think to Struddy's point about the young guys now, whether it's Matty Savoy or Ike Howard, like this is going to be that next crop of young guys that come up and be a part of this core thing, where I don't think they had that last year. I think last year they just signed Arvidsson and they had Perry and they brought in Podkolzin, and it's just like, here you go, a bunch of guys, see if it works. Where now they're going to try and cultivate this thing and bring it up so these guys can really stick together, and that's probably what they'd look at and say, this is what Connor wants to see. We're building something for now, but also for the future that he and all these players can attach themselves to.
Yeah, it's not going to stop between now and opening night, right, Strud? Like, unless he signs. Once that happens, then it's going to quiet down. But that's Rashog. He's waiting for him. They want to camp.
Everyone wants to know,
Rashog,
right?
baby.
Yeah. But I think, guys, let's be honest. In the hockey world, that's the biggest story hanging around
Absolutely.
right now. With all
He's the best
due
player in
respect
the world.
to Luke Hughes, in New Jersey, or some of these other guys that haven't signed, like this is the story. If he says, I'm not signing, well, that's a massive story. If he does sign, that's a massive story as well for him. But when I love what you said there, Frankie, about the younger players. Like, I'm looking at a player like Podkolzin. I think Podkolzin, I think he's a 20-goal scorer. I really do think he can find that this year. He had lots of chances to score, didn't quite get it done. I hope he went spent time with Connor or Leon or someone to work on his finishing, because he gets himself there, and that's a guy that can grow. So if you can get growth from him, Trent Frederick, one of the two we mentioned before, now maybe you got something that can replace some of the guys that were left for various reasons.
Right, and Kane was there for the Cup runs. Perry was there. Connor Brown was there.
Yeah, Connor, he's hard to replace.
He's a guy that's left town.
He's a good player.
Yeah,
good player.
And those are veterans that they're going to try to turn things over, and that's the ebbs and flows. Like Sid's up there, Crosby's up there talking, and Sid's had how many different teammates in 20 years? And he had different ebbs and flows of his career. Yes, he's had Malkin and Letang with him the whole time, and he had Fleury with him for a large portion of his career. But everyone else has kind of come and gone, and that's the nature of a core that sticks around, that's winning, that knows how to win and knows how to play together. So day one of the orientation camp, though, it's exciting. Like, it's exciting that the Olympic Games are here. The Americans are doing their thing as well, and I think we're going to talk a lot about it clearly between now and February and whenever the rest of the team is officially announced. But it's going to be a big year for McDavid, because this is a platform season for him to go and represent his country at the Olympic Games, something he has not been able to do. Same thing with Matthews. Same thing with Eichel. Same thing with McKinnon. Cale Makar, like these great players. Draisaitl, right? Like these great players who will be able to go to the Olympics and represent their countries. We haven't had this in 12 years, and outside of the Sids and maybe the Dowdies and maybe a couple of other players scattered throughout some other teams, it's going to be completely fresh, new blood at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Including them talking about Celebrini today and the fact that he was invited out there. The kid's 19.
19, but deserving of being there. And you don't think all that time that Celebrini spent with Sid at the men's worlds, like that doesn't do him a lot of favors there? Like, even for this season, going in and playing in San Jose. Like, once upon a time, Sid played on a really bad Pittsburgh Penguins team. And then in the not-so-distant future, they were really good. And that'll be the goal and the objective for Macklin Celebrini. But, like, this year with the condensed schedule and leading into the Olympics, I just wonder if there's going to be some, like, weird stuff that happens with, like, load management and guys dealing with injuries and trying to make sure that, I got to miss 5 games over the course of the next 2 weeks because I need to be ready for the Olympics, right? Like that. I think that stuff is very possibly going to happen this year. And there's a lot of games coming in a short period of time. But guys, like Hayes, guys don't want to miss this. It's
Sid's
been
a great
so
example.
long.
Like, Sid's a great example. Pittsburgh, presuming they show up and they say all the same cliches that every team does, we're here to compete and we think we can win. And maybe they believe it, maybe they don't. But, I think it's very likely by the time you get to the new year, Pittsburgh's way out of it, and they know they're out of it. And, Dubas and company understand that, and they're going to adjust on the fly, and this will be it for Malkin and Letang, and they'll figure out what they're going to do with Sid. But let's say they're somewhat in the hunt. They need Sid to play every night. in order for them to stay in the hunt and possibly punch that ticket, where remember, I believe leading up to the Four Nations, he was banged up. Remember, he was injured. He was not playing for Pittsburgh. Yeah. Then all of a sudden he gets to the Four Nations, and he's activated by Canada. He starts playing for the Canadian team, not playing for his club team. How's that going to work for the Olympic Games where it's even more amplified, even more important? I don't know. Like you'd like to believe the best teams, like in Edmonton, has enough buffer where if McDavid needs a night off that he'd probably take anyway, okay, go ahead. Hopefully you can kind of cross T's and dot I's at the same time and make sure you're okay for Canada and your club team. But it's a difficult juggling act for guys when not everyone can be on the best team. Some teams are bubble teams, and they got to play every single night for their club team. They can't load manage and prepare for the Olympics.
But I don't think we've seen this much load management in the NHL. Like I don't think we're quite at basketball, because I don't think the culture in hockey is one that I'm going to take this off because I'm not feeling 100%. Like, I think if you can play, guys play. Now, we might move away from that, and we saw with Florida and Edmonton towards the end of their season, they valued health with a lot of their players. And those guys, I believe they were hurt. I'm not suggesting they were tired, but they made sure that they got healthy rather than prioritize finishing a certain place in the standings. So I don't know. Like, do you see Sidney Crosby taking a week off?
I just think the Olympics are different, Strud. Like, in terms of preparing for it. Now, some of it's extreme. I'll give you an example. Again, this was a legitimate injury, and this was a legitimate rehab. But back in, I think it was 2010. It might have been 14. I think it was 10. Ryan Getzlaf had like a high ankle sprain or something.
I know this really well.
Yes.
His last game before the Olympics was against us, the Oilers.
Okay.
And he came back, and he was like, everyone's talking about what's he going to look like. They're here to watch him. I remember thinking, this guy, he's probably not going to do much. He only banged in 4 points that night.
Which is wild.
Went on, and it was insane. And his ankle was not right. Like, I know he wasn't right. And he came and played. That was crazy.
And I think the reason he played was to prove to Canada, I'm ready 100%. And I can play. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't about the Ducks. Like, I got to help the Ducks. He's like, I'm playing so that Canada knows and Steve Yzerman knows I can be there in Vancouver.
You know where I think it's different? Where, if you compare it to basketball, where load management is like this planned out thing almost. If a hockey player shows up to the arena and it's like, yeah, I got a little like just groin tightness today, you're playing. Mm-hmm. But if you're coming off a torn adductor and you're still dealing with the after effects of that, chances are, like with something around the corner, you might take a couple days off here and there, manage it as best you can to make sure that you're peaking at the right time. That's where I think it's different than basketball. Yes. You're not just showing up in the trainer's room and saying, calf tightness, can't go tonight. Well, no. Calf tightness, you're going tonight. Like, totally. That's the difference.
But what Sid's a different animal, and he's wired differently, and he's a freak of nature in terms of his competitive, nature and the way that he's wired. But let's say Pittsburgh's the worst team in the league, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. Like, I don't think they will be. I think San Jose, Chicago, I think I could give you a handful of teams that I think are worse. But let's say they are. Let's say it's January 1st, they're dead last. Do you think he starts, do you think Pittsburgh and Sid, they take an eye at the Olympics and they're like, okay, how are we going to play this out? Or does he keep playing 22 minutes a night? Like, that's what I'm curious about. I know that's a hypothetical, but
yeah, I hear you.
Like, does he maybe is it, hey, let's play him 18? Like, the season's done. We stink. We're awful. He wants to play in the Olympic game. That's the only thing he's playing for right now. I don't know. I mean,
he may not want to. He might be like, you know what? Just play me 22 minutes a night because I feel like that's the best way that I'll be prepared or in shape for the Olympics.
And guys, what's his track record? Has Sidney Crosby ever taken the easy way, like the easy road?
Not generally, no.
I can only go off his track record, and he's getting older, but I think that you are what you are. He's wired that way. He's just like, I think I can help this team win, and we're going to win. And you know what? Well, and we can debate whether we think him being in Pittsburgh at this point is good for him or the career or even the team, I guess. But I don't know. I just think that it's Sidney Crosby. I've never seen him do anything easy way. So why would he start now?
No, and that's why he is who he is. And that's the truth.
For sure.
That's why he's still going to the Olympics as a prominent player, because he's still great and he's still wired that way. Jays had a rough ninth inning last night. Oof. Very rough. Jeff Hoffman in particular, but Varland wasn't much better. Their bullpen is a disaster right now. and it got them last night. Eric Lauer on the mound tonight, big start for him to try to figure out exactly what he's going to do the rest of the way. Dallas Braden coming up in just over half an hour on what the Jays do with this bullpen. They got just over a month to figure it out. That more coming up with Dallas. We got role play level of concern coming up. Chris Johnston is in Calgary, so he's there at the orientation camp. We'll catch up with CJ this hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
The Hunting Wives, Thursday on USA Network. Stream on Crave.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right. Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Jason Strudwick in here. We got CJ coming up. Chris Johnston will join us here in a few moments. Jay's back in action tonight. Sounds as if Alejandro Kirk had an X-ray on his hand last night, came back negative. He's going to be okay. I have not seen the lineup for tonight, but I'm assuming Heineman will be in the lineup tonight. Ernie Clement, a little banged up. Going to be day-to-day, not going on the IL right now, but will not be playing this evening. And, again, the Jays are back in action tonight. And it sounds as if Schneider's telling the media down at the Dome that they're going to push Berrios' next start back. So he will not be pitching. Obviously, tonight Lauer's going. They're off tomorrow. Then they got 3 against Milwaukee, and Berrios will not be a part of that 3-man rotation against the Milwaukee Brewers. So they're trying to give him a bit of a breather and let him build up. It's been a real struggle for him lately. And Milwaukee's the best team in baseball right now. So you got to have your ace stuff.
Listen, that's okay for Berrios. Mm-hmm. If at some point they were going to implement a 6-man rotation, that was the guy that you wanted getting an extra day off, there's no issues there. The bullpen and the closer situation is not good right now.
No, it's not
good. There's not a lot of confidence when Hoffman is coming out there.
Yeah, last night, I mean, he just gets rocked. He's given up 12 home runs, and for a closer, that's your kryptonite. If teams are waiting on pitches and just demolishing you, and that's what happened last night.
Demolished.
Like no doubters.
That home run, the first pitch goes into the dirt, and you're watching it. You're like, well, this is the guy struggling with locating it. It's coming right down the middle, and it might not be as fast as it's supposed to be. He's sitting there, he's waiting for it, and he knows it's coming.
Yeah.
How's Hoffman supposed to even defend against that?
Well, I mean, 95 down the middle plate is an issue, clearly. But you're right. I mean, he's lacking confidence. He's had real issues. He's not alone. Varland struggles to throw strikes right now. Dominguez is wild. You know, he throws heat, but he doesn't seem to know where it's going all the time, which is a concern. You know, Garcia's still injured. I don't think he's coming back. Little has had a very good year. Very, very good year. But, he's starting to teeter a little bit, too, in the last month and a half. And it's a real issue. Like, the rotation is set. Look what they've set up here against Milwaukee. Game 1 Friday night, Shane Bieber. Game 2, Kevin Gausman. Game 3, Max Scherzer. That's probably your 1, 2, 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably them tipping their hand at what's going to happen come the playoffs. And they're still in the driver's seat pretty comfortably to finish as a top 2 seed in the American League, them and the Tigers. But last night, you've got that game. Like, you've got that game. All you need is Hoffman to come in, give you 3 outs, and you're clear. And it gets away from him. And it's not only him. If it was one guy issue, you can't rectify it now. You're post-trade deadline. But it's not him. Like, they're all leaking oil in the bullpen, and they've got 5 weeks to figure it out. And that's a lot of time. They still can. I'm not completely panicking yet. But if this continues for another 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know how you win a World Series if that's what their ambition is with a bullpen that can't be relied upon. In fact, I find it impossible, to be clear. So, yeah, we'll get into that with Dallas Braden in about a half an hour. But the Team Canada orientation camp is open out in Calgary, and McDavid's there, and Sid's there. Mitch Marner's there talking about Easton Cowan for some reason. I'm not quite certain where that came from. But to get you an update, we'll go live to the scene. Here's our TSN Hockey insider, Chris Johnston. CJ, what's going on there with Mitch Marner pumping the tires of Easton Cowan for some reason today? What was that all about?
I have no idea. I wasn't actually in his scrum because he had to kind of pick and choose. So I don't know where that came from, but I guess we're still in silly season, right? We're all looking for different content.
I guess so, yeah. Because, like, with Mitch, I don't know. Like, where do we go with Mitch here? Is it Leafs for what, 2, 3, 4 years until we finally move past that story? Or, like, how do you see the Mitch Marner, we got to talk to him about his exit in Toronto story playing out here, and how long are the legs that are left in that story?
Well, I'd say they're at least, 6-8 months. I mean, until he comes back and plays a game in Toronto, I think it will be of interest. And, to be honest, the one thing I've never yet heard, and I admittedly might have missed it because over the summer I've been lucky to not been as dialed in as usual, but I haven't heard him really explain why he left Toronto. And I think we can all deduce reasons and come to our own conclusions about why that might be and even make sense of it. But, I haven't really heard him dig into that, and I suspect he will between, his time here in front of the media You've got some, NHL media tours coming up and then just the start of training camps. I mean, someone's going to get in front of him and ask some of those questions. But, I think that I'll be curious to hear what he says there. And then, over time, as lots of players move on from their teams, it does fade a little more into the background. But, certainly for this first season where he's in Vegas, I think it's always going to be, something where people are looking in on how he's doing, wondering how the move's going, wondering how the Leafs are faring without him. And, ultimately they're going to have to face each other on the ice too.
Do you think, CJ, like as these questions keep getting asked to Mitch Marner and it's about Toronto, do you think eventually it just kind of fades away and we forget about it? Or does there come this one time or this one story where, someone's going to be a little passive-aggressive or sling a little something at him and, it's like, oh, those guys were teammates, but that's the actual story and that's how, things kind of left off? Or does it just, does it go away and we never really think about it in that way?
Yeah, it probably depends on how much life, the story gets from, as you're sort of saying there, Frankie, like other people, if a player says something, if, the GM, like those sorts of things that can probably extend the story. The other thing that I could see, potentially bringing it back in the spotlight, and this is admittedly seems like a long shot as we're talking at the end of August, but if you get a Leafs in Vegas Cup final at some point, and, Mitch Marner's coming back to Toronto in that kind of circumstance, obviously it would be a huge focal point. But, for the most part, once they get through the first, milestones of this season, I do think it'll be, in the background and not as top of mind. But, some of this will be dependent on what's said and how the teams do. I mean, if the Leafs, have a monster hole in their lineup and they can't fill it, might lead people to focus on it more. Yet, the flip side of that coin is if things go well this season and they move on, it might not be as it's front and center. So it's hard to say for sure here right now. But needless to say, this still has some legs on it for the immediate future. And I would suspect even tomorrow, when Mitch is speaking to the media, there's going to be more quotes coming out.
So, CJ, what's kind of on the agenda? What is the goal of bringing everyone together in Calgary, with no ice times, I should say?
It's kind of an interesting camp. I think the fact that 3 teams are all here, the Paralympic team, the women's team, and the men's team together, that's the first time for that. And, it creates sort of a unique atmosphere. And, from the men's side of things, where I think they landed is they're focusing as much on sort of off-ice camaraderie, prioritizing that here at the end of August over anything that might be accomplished on ice. And, I think that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, a good chunk of this team that ultimately becomes the Olympic team that goes to Milan obviously played together at the Four Nations. I don't think it'll be a surprise to see, a healthy percentage of that team return, as the Olympic team this year. But, other than Sidney Crosby and perhaps Drew Doughty, it's going to be a first Olympics for every other player on the men's team. And the Olympics is a different animal. It's a different beast than even what they faced last year in the Four Nations. And so, I think that they sort of looked at this period in time, and I'm sure there's, insurance type of complications and everything, but decided who cares about a practice? They're out golfing, a lot of them today, obviously doing, team building type of events, in the evenings and dinners and things like that. And for the men's team, this will be the last time any group of them will be together in big numbers until they get to Italy and, 3 days before the games begin in February. So, as much as, it might look, like a little bit, who cares what they're doing? I mean, because I get it. There's not high drama happening here. We're not seeing, forward lines and defense pairings and able to make sort of determinations on where the roster is going to sit today. I do think that it's an important time for them to get together and, just try to build up some camaraderie because, that Olympic tournament will play out pretty quickly once they get to Milan a few months down the road here.
With Chris Johnston. So Connor McDavid says, quote, he has every intention of winning in Edmonton, end quote. How do you process that quote?
Well, I take him at his word. I think that's something, obviously, it's been his intention for 10 seasons in the NHL or 11 seasons, whatever it's been. And, he's sort of saying nothing's changed. He's under contract this year with the Oilers, no matter how talks go or what he decides with his extension. But, the other thing he said today that I think was pretty notable is that it's basically, it's not his preference to have a deal done by the start of the season. It's the first time, publicly, and, we're getting a little closer to the start of the year, where he's said something like that in public, and it's hard not to sort of perk up and take notice of that fact. I don't think anyone should get too carried away and use it as a predictor of how this is going to go on, because, obviously there's just a huge amount of time between today and July 1st, 2026, when Connor could potentially become an unrestricted free agent. I've got no reason to believe he's, trying to figure a way out of Edmonton, but he's obviously not in a position where, he's comfortable signing an extension with the Oilers. And this is a massive deal for him at a massive point in his career. I mean, this guy's 28, turning 29 in January, and, he's led the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years in playoff scoring. I mean, obviously he's come into the final series the last 2 years with the Oilers losing to Florida in the final. He's done almost all you can do without winning a Stanley Cup, and I think that it's of utmost importance to him that he's got a chance to not only try to win one cup, but multiple cups here as he enters kind of what I'll look at as the second phase of his career and gets closer to age 30. So, he's got a big decision in front of him. I do think, all things being equal, he'd love to remain with the Oilers, but, beyond this season, there's some question marks about what their team's going to look like, or, as with a lot of teams, they've just got, UFAs and other unknowns, and he, at least today, to me, opened up the possibility that he's going to take more time before deciding if he signs that extension in Edmonton. It's not necessarily something we should expect to happen here in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
How big of a distraction could that be for the Edmonton Oilers this year if that's something that, goes into the regular season? Connor McDavid playing without a contract extension, does that become a dark cloud, or does that become one of those things where he addresses it once and then everyone just kind of respects that and moves past it?
It's the great unknown for me. I mean, we know, being on our side of the microphone now, that obviously it's something, if he doesn't sign that extension, once camp opens, once regular season opens, and we're going to discuss it. We'll be kicking around on OverDrive every second day. There'll be questions naturally when he does have to do some of those media scrums and things like that. But, I don't know to what degree, if any, it would impact his teammates. I mean, it's a hard one for me to kind of evaluate. I think it's probably on some level difficult for Connor to evaluate. And it was, something else he mentioned today. So we don't need any more distractions. He wants to make sure the team, as they look to get over the hump and, win one more playoff round than they've been able to the last 2 years, that he's not doing anything to take away from that with potentially having this as an unknown. So, I would say it would be sort of a brave new world if we got into that. There's been other great players, including Mitch Marner last season, obviously went all the way to free agency and ended up in Vegas. But, there's only one Connor McDavid. There's only one player of his stature in the league right now. And, I think that brings with it some, there's going to be naturally some attention there. But I don't know if it's going to, if it would become something that bothers the Oilers day in and day out or not. And so, I think that's why this will be an incremental day-by-day kind of story if we get into September or October and he hasn't actually signed that deal. If he truly does still need more time, we won't have any equivalent to this, really. I don't think that you haven't had a generational player in anywhere in recent memory potentially even think about free agency. As I mentioned, I don't want to go too far down that road because I think there's a lot still to play out here, but it becomes more and more possible, I suppose, the longer we go without him signing another contract.
CJ, when you look back on Mitch Marner's situation, even Steven Stamkos, even when John Tavares left the Islanders, were there pressure points that you felt or saw over any of those? Because Stamkos ultimately did sign. I'm talking about the one, his last contract with Tampa. But were there any pressure points in there where you look back and thinking, man, this was one where once they got past that, maybe there's kind of no coming back from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. With Marner, he had control, right? He had a no-movement clause. We know now and reported on a little bit at the time that the Leafs, at a certain point when they felt he wasn't coming back, looked to trade him. That didn't exist in the other two cases. With the Islanders, Tavares, negotiated with them really right into May and even perhaps even June. But they were an option for him, and I think he felt he got so far that he wanted to look at life somewhere else, and it was a unique opportunity for him. Stamkos, I don't think he ever truly wanted to leave. I'm talking about that first free agency window. That was back in the days when you could go talk to other teams. There was that interview period, they called it. And, he sort of peeked behind that curtain, but ultimately, stayed in Tampa. So I think each situation is kind of its own making. we're at kind of to me, a really interesting shifting time in the league with the cap starting to really jump now. And I don't mean to suggest this is in any way about money, but I think we're going to see some shifting dynamics about which teams are kind of the power teams, what players decide to do with their futures. It's only natural under this new CBA that I think we'll see some shifts there. And, if you're in Connor McDavid's position, I could understand that you would want to at least try to get your mind around all that and try to ensure you're in a spot where you really do have a chance to win the cup, because I think the worst possible outcome for him or anyone of his stature is, signing an extension and 2 or 3 years down the road, you're looking at a roster that just doesn't have a chance to win, and you're kind of locked in there. I mean, in some ways, that's where Sidney Crosby's found himself the last number of years in Pittsburgh. But obviously, the consolation, the asterisk there is he's won 3 cups with the Penguins. That's not something Connor's had a chance to do at Edmonton, and so it might be a little more easy or more comfortable to stay in one spot where you've at least won and wait through and try to see through to the next chance to win. I mean, I think with Connor McDavid, there's just no question. His focus is at another level already. I think he's putting absolutely every ounce of his effort and thought into trying to win a cup. Right now he's at that point in his career where it's the only thing, truly missing from his mantle. So, I don't know how much we can learn from the past, just because this would be truly unique. And I got to tell you, I came away this afternoon here in Calgary thinking, man, he might actually play this out a little longer and see how it goes. And I started thinking myself, I mean, how's this going to be covered? What's it going to look like around the league? And I'm not sure we've seen anything quite like it, if that's indeed how things go down.
All right, CJ, we'll leave it there. Camp's opening up in a few weeks. The orientation camp off and running out in Calgary. Hockey's in the air. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for this.
Right on, guys. Take care.
Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey Insider. I've said it before that no one in North American sports needs a championship more than him, because he's just in such a small group. Like, not even within his own sport. He's in a category with like Patrick Mahomes and Scotty Scheffler and Shohei Ohtani and Yannick Sinner. Like, that's where he is. And those guys they've all won. Aaron Judge is the only guy that's probably in that category that hasn't. It's him and McDavid. So I mean, he's probably obsessed with it, as he should be. Yet it's a team sport, and you got to reset every single year and start the climb again. It's tough, man.
It's a team sport, but and maybe this is our fault. Maybe we over-romanticize about how good he is, but he truly is the best player. And you got to think, man, this guy's been to 2 Stanley Cup Finals in a row. And did he have that game where it was like, this is the McDavid game where he just goes off and is unstoppable? But that's the buzzsaw that you go up against in the Florida Panthers. Mm-hmm. It's I think it gets pretty convoluted when you have that conversation among the GOATs, where it's like Mahomes you couldn't stop him tonight. I don't know. Yeah. McDavid couldn't do that against the Panthers.
Well, yeah. And listen, we'll see what comes of it, leading up to training camp and once the season starts. But if they drop the puck on opening night and he still hasn't signed, then it's just not ever going to quiet down. Like, it will in pockets, but it's going to be such a massive story about projecting what could happen and how it could play out. All right, Dallas Braden in 15 minutes on the Blue Jays bullpen and how they figure this out between now and the end of September. Role play level of concern in about 40 minutes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, with the help of Healthy Planet, TSN 1050 is donating $10,000 to the TDSB's Backpacks and School Supplies Drive. You can help support our local students, too. A $25 donation provides one backpack for a student, and $30 total ensures it includes all of the essentials. Donations are being accepted now through the end of September. Head to tsn1050.ca to donate today. Yes, less than a week today, back in school. Right? It's very exciting. We're finding out, the teachers later this week. We don't have that information yet, but my nephews were here this morning or this afternoon. They got the right teachers with the friends in there. They're very excited.
That's huge, man.
And that's so modern, man. I didn't know anything before I went to school when I was a kid. I had no idea. My parents didn't know. Maybe it was available to them and they just never checked. But I remember going to school and you had no idea who your teacher was, no idea who was in your class. You just had to line up, and one teacher would stand there and yell out names. And if you were in that name, like if you were in that group, that's your teacher, and that's where you're going.
I think we used to get something in the mail, like a week before school. It was like you go to the mailbox, and it tells you from whatever school you went to, like, oh, you're Mr. Strudwick's class. You're like, yeah,
really?
I got Mr. Strudwick this
we
year.
didn't have that. Maybe we did, and my parents didn't tell me, but.
We had small schools, but listen, today was my son's grade 7 intro, and we went to the school. He got in there, and the principal spoke to us for an hour. And my recommendation is this: if you're in that group of adults, listen to what he says, because there's a Q&A period. They asked the same question 3 or 4 times. Do we need indoor running shoes? No, he already answered that. I was looking back. I'm like, who's asking these questions back there? Like, I was losing it. And I was like, am I the only person here? Like, listen to the question. I don't want to hear. And if not, go talk to the guy later. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what?
So
are you 7 years old?
So ignorant. I know.
It's incredible.
So ignorant. And I'm sure the principal or VP had to keep his composure, but he was snapping internally. He wanted to absolutely blow a gasket.
He was so good, but just listen. Otherwise, don't come.
Exactly.
Man.
Throwing the hand up.
Shoes?
Sorry, you in the back. I don't know. Maybe you covered this already. That's always the best one. Yeah, he did. He probably did cover it.
Yes.
Pretty sure that happened.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas Braden Roleplay level of concern coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Jason Strudwick, Roleplay level of concern. A little bit later in the hour, Jays Twins tonight. Eric Lauer on the mound after a deflating ninth inning last night. Jays had that game. George Springer hits multiple home runs. What a story George Springer is. Like, this guy is just he when he got injured, was that a few weeks ago, I guess, when he had the concussion? I was concerned, man. I was legitimately concerned. A guy of his age who's really struggled the previous 2 years, who was so good, was going to leave the lineup for a couple of weeks and just not find it again. Or if he did, it was going to take some time or take on a bit of a different complexion and maybe a lower tier of production. Man. And I was dead wrong, man, because George has returned and he has been an absolute stud.
Hey, how about that? You change the hitting coach, you get better hitting from guys that you know were good hitters. How does that apply to the Edmonton Oilers? Change the goaltending coach.
Okay.
Same goaltenders. Hey,
I like that.
What do you think,
I like
buddy?
that, Frankie.
Okay.
No, but you know what? I think it does make a difference. Like, I think, and not to steal your story away about the Blue Jays, but I think that a goalie coach or hitting coach, it's so specific and so detailed. It's an approach. It's an approach to hitting. Like, yeah, it's how you swing, but it's approach to the mindset. I think goaltending's a lot the same. So I think it's worth a look. But George Springer, those two balls, I didn't think they were going to land in the stadium. He absolutely unleashed those things. They were gone. Like, as soon as it hit, I was like, oh, they're gone.
No doubters.
Bombs.
No doubters, man. And that's been Springer all year. His numbers are so good across the board. He's moving all over the place in terms of positional. He's I think ideally they're going to want him to DH, but we were talking to Keegan about it yesterday, and maybe they've been kind of slow rolling this. Maybe load managing his fielding so that he's prepared to do it in September and into October. And this is a guy who he was playing center field when he was winning a World Series, when he was winning World Series MVP back in 2017 for the Astros.
And now if George Springer was having this kind of year and the Jays weren't a good team, it would be like all for nothing, really, because you need George Springer having a good year, banging the drum when the team is playing well and they're going into the playoffs. And it's like that's where that guy can really kind of stir the drink the way he did when he was in Houston, and he hasn't really been able to do that. As you know, the Jays just haven't been able to do that since he's gotten here, but now it lines up perfectly, man. He's having this resurgence. The Jays are playing great. They're getting offense from everywhere, but still, like, you have to be worried about what happens in a playoff game when they go to the bullpen, and you know that you're going to have to go to the bullpen a little earlier than you do in the regular season, and you have to know that your closer can come in and close it out. And no one's saying you can't make contact. You know, like the closer is going to pitch. It's going to be contact made for sure, but you can't get rocked. Like, it's going way out of the ballpark.
Yeah,
like it's uncomfortable, man. It's uncomfortable.
Gasper,
it's uncomfortable.
The guy who hit it, the first one I believe was by Gasper, correct? The little catcher. And, like, there was a no-doubter. Like, that was a no-doubter. Off the bat, I'm like, that's not the guy that you want hitting a no-doubter off of you. It's further up the lineup or a Judge. But that Gasper, the little catcher, I'm like, ooh, that is not a good sign.
That's the
that
issue,
should be
man.
overpower, 3-4 pitches, out. Move on to the next guy.
It's the 7, 8, 9 hitters. You know, to your point, if Judge gets you, he gets you. You know, you just gotta swallow that pill and be like, he was better than me. He is better than me. He got me. But even, the famous 5-walk routine at Dodger Stadium, that was a 7, 8, 9 hitters he walked before Ohtani came up and Betts came up. And again, Schneider is trying to give him the opportunity to pitch out of it, and he waited too long last night. And it turns out they actually put up some runs in the bottom of the ninth, and maybe if he gets them out earlier, it's a different story. But it's a conundrum if you're a manager, because that's the guy you have to rely on him. You've chosen to rely on him, and quite frankly, there's no one else that screams, I should be the guy usurping him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not – I know Sir Anthony Dominguez can throw heat, and he's been pretty good. And Varland, when he first showed up, looked good. Now he's hit a bit of a rocky patch. And they have stuff. They have closer-like stuff because they can hit 98, 99, or 100. But it's not that easy. And I think if the Blue Jays, if Walker and Schneider believed, Dominguez could do it, or Varland could do it, or any of these guys could do it, they probably would have given him a shot by now. And I think they're pot committed to Hoffman because they believe that's their best guy, and he's the guy that can pitch in the most high-leverage situations. But, man, it's been ugly as a bullpen. It's not just him. The whole staff for a month now, 5 weeks, has been terrible. Like, terrible. I think outside of, I want to say, Colorado's bullpen, no one has a worse ERA collectively in Major League Baseball in 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't instill confidence, man.
No,
like
it's
those
issue.
are high leverage situations. You need guys, specialists. You go in, you strike a guy out, whatever the case is. But
got to
get
that win
right now.
Yeah, like yes, it's been uber positive, great thing. Jay's been awesome. Their season didn't end last night, but it's okay to have higher expectations, and it's okay to be disappointed when the game's right there against a Minnesota team that's not really in the hunt for anything. You're on home field, and Hoffman comes in and gets rocked last night. All right, here is a former MLB pitcher, and, of course, you can catch him on the Baseball is Dead podcast joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Here's Dallas Braden. What's happening, Dallas?
How we doing, boys?
We're doing well. We've been talking a lot about the bullpen up here, and the numbers have not been good for the better part of a month. Since the end of July, it's one of the worst, 1 or 2 bullpens in baseball based on, team ERA. Hoffman got rocked last night, blows a save. He's given up 12 home runs this year. How important is it over the next 4 or 5 weeks for John Schneider and the Blue Jays to find some semblance of a bullpen they can trust going into the playoffs?
Imperative. This is when the arm race begins, whether it's identifying in-house options, right? Because the opportunity to go and get some help outside of your building has come and gone. And when it's in-house, I'm talking, are there options, by virtue of an extension of the bullpen in AAA? Are there guys in the rotation in AAA that you could think about bringing up and maybe impacting the bullpen? Because you're right. As far as how this bullpen has performed for the Blue Jays, you go back to July 28th, just an arbitrary date, which I picked up while I was listening to you guys kind of touch on some of the shortcomings. The Blue Jays have the second worst bullpen ERA in baseball at 5.72, behind only the Colorado Rockies, who play baseball on Mars. So it is tough. It is tough to win ball games. It's tough to win close ball games, and it's tough to win important ball games if you just cannot get the most important outs in the ball game, which is, number one, the ones you need to get when you have the lead, and especially when you have the lead, the last 3 outs of the ball game. So whether it's identifying a combination, a platoon of arms that you feel like you can run out there and match up, because I heard you guys talking about, are you just at this point pot committed to Hoffman, who leads the bullpen with 28 saves? That is just based on the opportunities. But is there a combination of matching up? You got a couple of lefties down there in that bullpen, and whether or not you feel like those guys can help split the difference on whether it's finishing off the 8th inning and heading into the 9th inning, starting the 9th inning. And look, you get the 3 that you're going to get. And if it goes any further than that, we already have somebody playing catch by the time you've taken the ball on the game mound. There's going to have to be some sort of shaking out, though, because down the stretch, this is where teams can either close the gap or, I believe, start to collapse, because we know that it's bullpens that start to peter out when it comes September, and that's because of usage, overexposure, and this is when your money is earned. And that's why it is so important to have at least the last 6 outs accounted for. And I don't mean to just say you got to have the closer identified. Sure, that helps, but you have to have an attack plan on how to secure the win.
Dallas, are you familiar with, in your experience, a reset for the group and or the reset for an individual when they're in the bullpen at this time of year?
Absolutely, because what you can do is you decompress an individual's mental process and you allow them to simplify it. You allow them to dumb things down, because a lot of times what happens is at this point you become mentally exhausted long before you might be physically exhausted. And those two things do go hand in hand, because if you feel like mentally you're just not up for the challenge, or the challenge seems so great, well, now physically, are you going to respond? Are you as eager to try to face the adversity head on? And so I think finding yourself in the bullpen is a wonderful opportunity to maximize your stuff as a pitcher, because now we're talking about going out and performing in a short burst, and you have the ability, you now give the manager flexibility, right? You give Schneider flexibility on how to be able to utilize you. And if you have starting pedigree and you've been built up to serve an extended role, well, now we're talking about one individual covering 4, 5, 6+ outs, and he becomes almost another reliever of sorts in that bullpen, because we're not asking him to flip the lineup 2 or 3 times. We're asking him to get as many outs in a row as he can. And if that's 5, 6, 8, so be it.
If you look at the Jays bullpen, and then at some point, John Schneider and company decide that Hoffman's not going to be the guy, or we tried the reset and we just can't trust him come playoff time in this high leverage situation, and you don't go there, is there an obvious candidate for you when you look at the Jays bullpen as far as who could be a guy who could close out a game?
I mean, is there any thought? I mean, this is where you're starting to think about the kind of swing and miss you're looking for in big spots, right? Because that's what you're looking for in high leverage situations. That's what you're looking for when you're trying to get the most important outs of the game, is how can I dominate the at bat? That's what I need to be able to take care of. So when you think about that, you think about swing and miss. I mean, is Sir Anthony Dominguez an option? Is it Varland? And that's where I think when you start to talk about playing the hot hand, I think you really, at this point in time, you're just trying to see who can continue to put together good outings after good outings, who's stringing together the outings with the least amount of traffic that is giving us a chance to go out and dominate the last 3 outs. So I think is, in terms of opportunities, those are a couple guys you might start to take a look at.
With Dallas Braden, in terms of starters potentially moving there, again, the Jays, they're in a really good spot. They still got a good buffer in the American League. They got a good buffer in terms of a top 2 seed in the American League, period. I should say buffer on the AL East, and then in terms of the American League and trying to finish in one of those top 2 spots. But they're shifting their rotation around a little bit. They have a 6-man rotation. Lauer's going tonight. They're going to push Berrios back. He has not pitched well recently. So when Milwaukee's in town this weekend, they're going Bieber, Gausman, Scherzer. I think if they're healthy, that's your 1, 2, 3. I think they're tipping their hand at what likely is going to be their starting rotation for the first 3 games of a playoff series, which means Berrios, Bassitt, maybe Lauer, who's a lefty who's been very good. But let's push him aside for a second. Of Berrios and Bassitt, either of those guys, both of those guys, can you see them possibly contributing at all in a bullpen role come the playoffs?
I absolutely think you can, and I think it's probably, again, just kind of going to who's going to give you an opportunity to generate swing and miss, who's going to give you an opportunity to give you length. Well, I think both those guys kind of serve that purpose to an extent, and I think it's really going to be about the individual matchups that you're going to be getting, who's going to perform better in that role. I think what you're doing is you're really splitting hairs between who you're identifying as competitors, because is it Berrios who you have more confidence in to generate the swing and miss? Well, I don't think so, because he's not a strikeout per 9 kind of guy right now, right? He's not a strikeout an inning per guy right now, where Chris Bassitt may be a little closer to that. But is that going to be ultimately the biggest difference maker for you? In terms of keeping the ball in the yard, both these guys have surrendered 22 homers a pop. So I think it's really just a matter of what the opponent looks like and who you're going to be able to rely on in that moment. What do the matchups say? Because that's where, and I hate to really start to get into the weeds here, but when you think about Chris Bassitt and some of the arm angles that he creates and some of the different movement he's generating with these different arm angles and how funky he is, that can be tough, as opposed to Berrios. Well, now he's pretty much a one-plane guy in terms of arm angle, and so if you have a guy who can kind of disrupt swing plane at the plate and offer different looks, that's an option. So I think Bassitt very well may be the leader in the clubhouse out of that starting rotation to make an impact.
Dallas, I'm interested to know the relationship and dynamic between starting pitchers and the relievers. Let's say a starter goes through an evening and has a decent night, hands off the ball, and then the game ends, in a loss, or vice versa. The starters are really, overextending the relievers. Is there what kind of that dynamic look like between those two groups?
Oh, it absolutely exists, because as a starting pitcher, you go out there, you lay an egg, as we say early on in the ball game. You've given up a 3-4 spot in the first couple innings, and now your job has shifted sort of from trying to continue to dominate a lineup, because that didn't work out. So now what do you got to do? Well, you got to get outs, and you got to give that bullpen an opportunity to get to some of the important guys down there. And when I say important, I mean the high leverage out getters, not the guys that you run out there in the 4th and 5th inning. I've been that mop up dude before, and I know what that's like. So you want to avoid that at all costs. And that means what you're doing ultimately is giving your offense a chance to climb back into the game if you can keep the score kind of where it's at. But you're giving your bullpen a chance to breathe. You're not asking them to cover, 18 outs. And that's really, really important, because 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, there's your 5-inning performance, and now you're still asking the bullpen to cover the remainder, and that's quite a few outs still. So the further you can get into the game, the better. And then on the bullpen side of things, when your starter goes out there and puts together a gem, right, gives you 7 innings plus worth of outstanding baseball, maybe just a run, if anything, and then you come in and you end up putting guys on base, you're walking a couple people, you give up a double, you give up a homer, and it feels like all your starters' hard work has gone for naught. And now you, a high-leverage guy, aren't available the next day because you've just spent 35 bullets trying to get yourself out of this mess, and things just go awry quickly. So as a starter, you never want to put your bullpen in a situation where they have to cover any more outs, where they're exposing guys, because then you start to think about, you get guys out there who have given you 3-4 innings, and they're going to get sent down. Now you're changing lives, you're changing paychecks, and it's all because as a starter you just couldn't get the job done. That is a terrible feeling.
With Dallas Braden. So let me run through the top 5 in Major League Baseball OPS, on-base plus slugging. To no one's surprise, at number 1, Aaron Judge. Number 2, Shohei Ohtani. Number 3, Cal Raleigh. Number 4, Kyle Schwarber. Number 5, George Springer. George Springer is 5th in baseball with a .930 OPS. He had 2 home runs again last night. We talk about him daily. I'll give the floor to you, Dallas. Like, what more can you say about a veteran like this who was awful the last 2 years? Terrible. Well, and the guy's been phenomenal this season. It's incredible.
Well, and that's the point, right? It's kind of been an MIA thing. Like, hey, George, where have you been? Not Joe DiMaggio. Where's George Springer been? Right. And it's now a guy that is squarely in the middle of the lineup, sometimes at the top of it, quite literally, and that's where you have somebody who's setting the tone, setting the table, but you have somebody who has been reliable. You need pieces like that in the lineup to be consistent. You need guys that you can regularly depend on in terms of what you can expect from their at-bat. And from at-bat to at-bat, George Springer, you just laid it out, has been as good as you could hope for. I mean, and just to kind of zoom out a little, the Jays, as a group, second best OPS in all of baseball. I mean, the 9th most extra base hits. They've got the 13th most home runs in baseball. So, I mean, George Springer is a big part of what is pushing that, what is motivating that offense. So when you have guys like Bo Bichette, who are going to make a run, it feels like, at 200 hits, every year, and you have a guy like Vlad who, whether it feels like it's been a down year or it's a resurgent bounce-back year, it feels like he just quietly gets his numbers. And at the end, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's flirting with 300 in terms of average. He'll probably get to that 30-homer mark. He's going to need to do some work here this last month, but I think that's well within reach. So George Springer, being who he is right now, is almost like getting a former George Springer, who he was, I think, when the Jays initially signed him, what they had hoped for. This is what you're getting now.
George Springer, Dalton Varsho, there's a lot of really good defensive players on this Jays team, and they've been a good defensive team this season. I'm just curious from like a player's point of view, when you're kind of critiquing other teams around the league, you're going to talk about hitting, you're going to talk about rotation, you're going to talk about a bullpen. Like, where does how good a team is defensively kind of rank on the priority list when you're talking about, man, I wouldn't want to play that team come playoff time because they're good defensively? How high up is that?
Well, it matters because of the things that we were kind of just talking about, where if you're a team that's not going to generate a ton of whiff and the ball's going to be in play, you're going to need the boys behind you to play catch. That's going to be important. You have to be able to turn these weakly hit baseballs into outs. And even if they're not weakly hit, that's where defensive positioning comes into play, which is really more of a credit to the staff and their preparation in the analytic department doing their homework. But they have to be able to get that information to the staff. They have to disseminate that to the players. The players have to then go out and execute. So it is a priority in-house without a question. It absolutely matters. Can we turn ball in play to outs? Again, that's what we're after, right? Scoring at least just one more run than the other guy, and we got to get our outs. We have to do that. We can't give away outs. We can't give these opponents extra outs. And so playing catch, as simple as you can boil it down to, is paramount. And I think if you don't have the ability to do that, then you're really starting to flirt with fire, because late in the ball game, what happens? The at-bats really start to ratchet up. The ball in play becomes an emphasis. And I always say, from a reliever's perspective, there are three things that you must do as a reliever, and this starts to become all the more important once we get into the postseason. And that's, you have to come in, spin the breaking ball for strikes. You have to control the running game, but you have to be able to defend yourself. You have to field your position as well, because the last two innings, you see teams more than willing to try to trade outs for 90 feet. And if you are somebody who's going to end up throwing it off the forehead of the popcorn guy in the fifth row, well, that's going to be a problem. You're not reliable. So we got to turn balls in play into outs.
Absolutely. Great catching up with you, Dallas, as always, man. It's going to be a fun stretch run. We're almost into September. I'm sure we'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
No problem. Hold on tight, boys. Down the stretch you come.
Absolutely. There's Dallas Braden, the Baseball is Dead podcast, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada, fuel-efficient, fun to drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. So, yeah, listen, the bullpen is something's got to be figured out there. But you keep mashing the way they have. The rotation's been pretty strong. And they're running into some injury issues. Now Clement's banged up, not in the lineup tonight. He had a couple of hits last night. Alejandro Kirk's a little bit banged up. Heineman will go tonight with Lauer on the mound. See
that hand on Kirk last night?
Yeah.
That looked a little concerning.
Concerning. I guess the X-rays came back negative.
Yeah.
But
he had a golf ball in his hand. He kept looking at it. He's on base. Yeah. Like, I got a golf ball growing out the side of my hand here.
Yeah, that's
How do you
concerning.
Squeeze a bat? Like, that's, it's so hard. You know how sore that would be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. And
that's
he
like
had
when
the
Struddy was blocking shots on the
ago.
PK. Struddy was blocking Al McInnes one-timers, taking him off the hand.
That's why you get smart as you get older. You get out of the way. That's why the goalies have pads.
That's right. What are they getting paid for? Stop the
you
puck.
Can see the guys. They try to make it look like they get there, but they don't quite get there, right? And because we've all done it, and I'm not proud of it. I haven't done it many times. Where you just can't. Oh, who's that? That's whoever. Weber. Oh, I almost got there. You could have got there.
Yeah.
But watch games. You'll know. You know the difference between the two.
Oh, yeah. The business decision, right? Like, just missed it. Stuck the stick out. Almost had it.
But when you see one of those ones, when you see, like, the first time I saw the Shea Weber slap shot, or it might have been a one-time or two, I'm like, that thing is singing a different tune than other pucks I've seen being shot before. Like, that sounds different.
Oh, it flies and just comes off so fast and so powerfully. He looks like he's trying to beat that thing every time he hits it.
Angry,
right?
man.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
was
just,
angry.
and you're standing there in front. You're like, please, God, like, I'd honestly rather go in than hit me. You know, like I really don't care because you know how much it's gonna hurt. Oh,
Right.
it's insane.
And you can't predict where it's going to hit you.
No.
If you're too far away, like if you get close and you know it's going to shin pad it or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're at like the hash marks and he's kind of top of the circles, that could go anywhere.
Well, that's the crazy thing about Chris Tanev. Like, Chris Tanev will block one-timers where the guy, like the defenseman's kind of near the blue line, and Tanev will be like below the circle. He'll be below the dot in the circle, and he'll crouch down and just take one off the midsection. You're like, that could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
You have no idea whether the shot's going to elevate or it hits a stick, and he's just eating them like from distance. That's crazy stuff.
It is.
He does it better than basically anyone,
That's
I think.
science.
So brave. So brave, guys. Like, it's incredible. And you ever watch baseball and see the catchers that, a foul ball goes off the bat, hits them in their hand? Oh, man. You know how painful that would be?
So painful, man.
Oh,
so
no coverage?
Yeah, well, I'm scared. There was a viral clip going around recently of, I think it was a Little League game where the ump was getting hit hitting the stones 3 times in a row. Now, they're wearing jocks, but still. Like it was like a foul tip and just drop the guy, and then he'd get up. He'd be like, all right, let's go. 5 pitches later, he'd get hit again. He'd be like, oh, my God. He's probably getting paid $10 an hour. He's freaking out. He's like, what am I doing here? This is crazy.
Dude, I'm sorry, but after two, you
done.
have to change your leg position or something.
Right,
man.
I'm going to second base. You're coming in. Like
you
someone else is
stand behind the backstop. Stand behind the screen and call it from there.
Yes.
Like, I can call it. I know this isn't, I'm not catching
Little
100 mile out. It's crazy.
Totally. Yeah, it's very true. But you're right. Like those hands, like catchers, man, you got to be careful. You have to be careful. All right, role play level of concern coming up this hour. We'll also get into the Ryder Cup decision. Keegan Bradley, he basically snubbed himself. He's not playing. Just going pure captain. Steve Sands on that and more in about an hour. I hate that decision, too. I wanted to see him play. I think it would have been thoroughly entertaining to see it. But I guess he's mature now, and he doesn't see it the same way. So we'll get to Sandsy a little bit later this afternoon and a crazy trademarking decision. We'll tell you about that and how it relates to Bill Belichick and his new girlfriend in about a half an hour. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Wholesale GP lives here.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
You can never ask me to stop drinking. Do you understand?
I do. I really do.
All right, role play level of concern. Very simple stuff where we're all going to be playing the role of somebody. And there will be a scenario that will be presented, and then you have to lay out your level of concern. Pine on the patio is no concern whatsoever, and obviously Nick Cage and leaving Las Vegas is about as concerning as it gets. All right, very simple stuff. Mm-hmm. Very simple. We're each going to have one, and then after each one we can kind of spitball where we stand on things here. Okay, and I might add a little bit as we go on here, but Strud, I think it's appropriate to start with you. Connor McDavid was speaking today about his contractual situation out in Edmonton. And, Struddy, you're playing the role of the Edmonton Oilers. What is your level of concern? McDavid's slow playing these negotiations is a sign he's thinking of leaving.
Well, you said the lowest form was I'm on the patio.
Pine on the patio, yeah.
I'm sprinkling the infield for the whole patio.
Wow.
I'm not worried at all here.
Waters for everyone.
There's no rush to get this done. I think that he stated that, a couple months ago. He has a level of comfort with this organization. The team's been very good. So I have no issue with this all. I am relaxing in the shade. No issue at all.
Okay. I'm a little bit surprised it's that low. I wouldn't go Nick Cage. I wouldn't go Rick Bushwood maybe, but I might go a six-pack and a shot or something. I mean, until it's done, there's got to be an element of concern, like a modicum of concern that, I think he's going to end up staying. I would expect that, but and he, I feel like his phrasing I find very curious. Like, I have every intention to win in Edmonton. Like that is very manipulative, right? It's very planned. It's obviously been something he and his team have worked out. They knew this question was coming, and they know it's going to continue to come. And it's not exactly a grand slam. Like, I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. I have every intention of winning in Edmonton.
It could be, it could be a 3 or 4 year deal, and at the end of that deal, I think you're getting closer to Nick Cage if they haven't won. I think at the end of that deal, you are Nick Cage if they haven't won. But he holds all the cards, and if he says, "Yeah, guys, I'll resign," but it's 3 years, and
that's still a grand slam for the Oilers. That'll mean
100%. That's 4 more years. That's
exactly.
4 more runs, and you're right. Way over a decade.
Can't ask for more than that.
Exactly.
You'd love it. You'd love to be, a Draisaitl 2.0, and maybe that happens. Maybe he just goes, forget it, give me the 8 years or 7, and I line up with Draisaitl. I could see that.
Dude,
maybe.
8% chance. 8% chance.
You don't think he's signing long term?
I don't think he's going to do the 8
But even
years.
if he does, he could pronger this and say, listen, the second I tell you I'm out, right? Like, I'll sign for 7 or 8. I'm going to take my money, and I don't want to deal with the negotiations anymore. But if I call you a year from now and say I want to be traded to this team, or what, you're trading me. Like that would also be understood. I think players of this magnitude in any sport, they have so much power. Like, it's if he ever wants out, even if he's on a 1-year deal, an 8-year deal, he's going to have the cards. And the Oilers will clearly need a lot in return if that ever happens. They would get a lot in return because of who we're talking about. But if he signs an 8-year deal, that does not mean he is saying I am 100% playing all 8 years in Edmonton.
No.
He might. But he might not.
They'd never get enough. You could never get enough in a trade for Connor McDavid.
No,
it's just impossible.
But it wouldn't. It's not. They wouldn't be initiating that. Is the point?
No.
It would be him if they haven't won in 3 or 4 years, and he goes, I got to go try somewhere else. That's him telling them this is what's happening.
But I think you have to look at it like this. Any contract he signs will be negotiated in good faith. His intention will be to play out that contract. I don't think he's got an eye say, if we don't win in 3 years, I'm out of here, right? Like, they've been close. They've been really close. Unfortunately, haven't got it done. And, this past year wasn't as close as the year before that. And I think Florida's as good or better. And I don't know if the Oilers are the same team now they were this time last year. So there's a lot of it's hard, but you got to look at it like this too. If you had to pick a team, July 1st, you had to go to. Let's go back before everyone signed their deals. Which team was the one that you're going to win on? That this is the winner. I hear people saying Dallas Stars. Yep, Oilers spit him out in 5 games. Spit him out. There's a lot of players that are missing. There might have been some injuries in there. What about on the other side? Florida, they wouldn't. I guess they could have made room for him. They
can't really. Yeah, exactly.
Accommodated him, but let's leave that team out. Which team on July 1st, if he was a free agent, would you know he's going to win going to?
No, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
But that's the problem.
You could say, on the East, you could say, oh, Carolina's a good team. Carolina they get ran over by the Florida Panthers. So, I don't know.
Getting him makes a big difference.
That's the
obviously.
thing. You have to consider what he would do if, let's say he goes to Vegas. Use them as an example. And Jack Eichel all of a sudden is your second-line center. Or if he goes to L.A., and it pushes Kopitar down and it pushes, Byfield in a different position of need and all that. I don't know. I mean, he's so good that he's going to boost the chances of any team he plays for.
For sure he does.
Which has to be considered in this hypothetical. But you raise, I think, an appropriate point and an accurate one is there's no – outside of Florida, and Dallas doesn't deserve that. Now they got a new coach, and we'll see what Gulletson can do his second time around down there. But that goalie does not scream confidence to me in the playoffs. Ottinger is not exactly
hot and cold,
Billy
man.
Smith here.
Hot and cold with Ottinger. You know what's going to be – I think, Connor McDavid, we're having conversations about the contract. The crazy conversations are going to happen if McDavid re-ups for 3 or 4 years, and we're having, conversations of do they need to trade McDavid at the end of that deal before that deal expires, or in Toronto when Austin Matthews' next deal is coming up. Are they at the point where they got to trade Matthews at some point this season? Or are they going to let it play out as an own rental? Because how do you do that?
Well,
that's going to be crazy down the road.
Right? That's the thing. For, let's say, using McDavid in the Oilers. Let's say he signs a 3-year extension. He's got 4 more years left there. And I think they'll be very good this year. I would anticipate they would be very good for the next couple of years. But how can you predict in sports what anyone's going to be in 4 years?
We
I don't
can't.
know. Yeah, how would you possibly know?
I guess, but, looking at Dallas, if I was Connor McDavid, I sure like those 2 D-men there.
Yeah.
I'd be very comfortable getting passes from those guys. Now, he has good D-men here as well. But I guess the point of this exercise for me is that it's hard to identify which team is going to win for the next X number of years. Because you have to, let's say Kopitar, he was done. He was done after this year, and Connor McDavid drops in there. Yeah, that's a good team. But are they going to win for sure? Did you love that D? Did we like their wingers?
Yeah.
That's and I know we're just staying on the Western Conference, but let's say Ottawa. Well, let's say Ottawa found, they not found. They created space
Montreal,
for this guy.
Him and Suzuki.
Yeah,
1-2
Montreal.
punch.
Yeah. So is that team? I sure like that D right now.
Yeah.
But are you sold on their goalies? Do you like their wing? It's just hard. And I think for that level of player to kind of find a place where you're going to win for sure, it's not that easy. The last guy to do it in a different sport is Thomas Brady.
That's right. And I guess, you're right, though. He went down to Tampa. He took a flyer on a team where he knew the infrastructure was there and they were going to be good. And Kevin Durant did that. Now, but Durant joined the equivalent of the Florida Panthers.
That's a good team. Yeah,
exactly.
Hasn't won since.
And they haven't won since. Well, I guess they did, actually. They won in 20.
He hasn't.
But he hasn't. You're right. He hasn't. But that's it. Outside of joining Florida, and he's not going to do that. That's the thing. You look at Durant. And Durant was desperate. Durant was sitting there saying, I got to join it. I got to get a ring. I have to in this ring culture we live in. And McDavid may face that at some point. Maybe he's facing it right now. I'm sure he's contemplating all what we're talking about right now. He's thought of way more than we have.
Oh, yeah.
Where do I think I can win in the next 5 years? I think you can talk yourself into Edmonton. It's not difficult to do. They've been to back-to-back Cup finals. And also you have guys on that team. One guy in particular is ride or die with you. Leon, if he's playing with you, that guy's going to be an absolute machine in the playoffs. You can bank on it. You don't have to do it every night. He will do it a lot of times. So that, I'm sure, allows you to sleep at night. But it may get to a Durant situation, in 2, 3, 4 years, where it's he's 31, 32, been in the league for 14 years. What are you going to do? What are you doing at that point? Yeah. Because I don't know if it'll be an easier answer. The question we're throwing around right now, in 4 years, I don't think it will be. especially if there's 34 teams then, or 36.
Yeah.
You know, the league might be even more watered down. So, yeah, it's a struggle. All right, Frankie, you're playing the role of Brad Treliving, GM of the Maple Leafs, keeping this hockey theme going here. I love it, end of August. What is your level of concern? You have not done enough to improve your team for this upcoming season.
Honestly, I'm a pine on the patio.
Really?
Here.
Everyone's relaxed in August.
I'm pretty relaxed.
Everyone
I could throw in I could throw in a couple shots, but I'm not. Yeah, like I'm not Rick Bushwood. I'm not Stevie Caldwell.
Okay.
I'm not getting into anything really alarming because I think, okay, let's start with this. The games have to be played first. So we'll see how the dynamic of the team looks, and the results will kind of speak for themselves. If we're talking about third liners or depth players sinking your team, it's because 34 isn't healthy or 88 isn't healthy. Like that's really, I think, what it comes down to. And 88's healthy, like he's always available. It comes down to 34. Like if Austin Matthews is feeling like himself and he has that, that like roaring up the ice type feel, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be a good spot. Having this depth kind of scattered throughout the lineup, at least on paper, is something that a lot of people have been clamoring for in this market and saying we haven't been able to compete with Florida or Boston because they could win a matchup lower in the lineup. Maybe now the Leafs are able to do that. It's not always about, a guy that has 102 points, even though he's a better player. And on paper, you're like, well, how do we match up at the top of the lineup? So I'm not concerned about it because if 34 is healthy and the guys that I brought in do what they're supposed to do, I think you've done a good job of kind of mitigating the loss of 102 points in Mitch Marner. Got to play the games, though. Could be proven wrong, but that's why you play them.
He had the infamous DNA comment, and Marner left, which naturally, I guess, played into that. When a guy of that stature who's been here for 9 years leaves, your team is going to look different, feel different, play different. So I guess by osmosis that took place. But beyond that, the team, yes, you got Michelli. I don't know what the hell to expect out of Michelli. I mean, Utah dumped him. I see people mocking up lineups, and he'll be on the first line. I'll believe that when I see it. Maybe he will. But I don't. I think you got to be careful penciling in 60 points for a guy Utah basically said, please get out of here. But you got Michelli, you got Waugh, you got Joshua. You got a couple of guys who came in late in the year last year that now have a full run. I'm thinking of Scott Lawton, Brandon Carlo. But it's the same goalies, same defense. They have not changed the defense whatsoever. Tavares is back. It's the same. It's a lot of the same team. Which I'm not surprised by necessarily, but. This isn't about the regular season. It's about changing what you do when you get to Game 5 again, Game 7 again, if you face Florida again. I can't sit here and say that they're in a better position today to beat Florida than they were 3 months ago.
No, but can you say they're that much worse?
No, and that's valid. That's fine. I'm not saying they went backwards. Just I don't think they've taken some big step forward. If they took a kind of right in the same place.
You're right. If they took a big step forward, that would have looked like they got Sam Bennett and they got Aaron Ekblad from Florida.
Right.
Like that, we would have been, they're ready to beat Florida.
Yeah,
now.
and you took something away from those guys.
Outside of that, I don't know what move there was to be made that you would have said, no, this team's beating Florida this year.
And that is valid, that the options just weren't there. And listen, we're into the end of August and nothing has happened in the league. We talked about it the other day. It's just there's nothing going on. No one's moving, and I'm not bracing for all this movement before camp. There'll be some PTOs that sign late. That happens all the time. But are you guys waiting for a big trade to shake the NHL's
I don't think it's going to
happen.
Bedrock?
I
don't think it's going to happen, man. Everyone's got their guys. Everyone re-signed their guys. Everyone had the cap space to do so. No offer sheets. Everyone could match. You got who you got now. I think this is going to be a trend for the next little while. Teams aren't going to be in a cap bind, so they can retain their talent.
I'm uptight if I'm Treliving. Really uptight.
Yeah.
So I'm not relaxed on the patio. This is my concern, is that you may not have gotten worse, but I don't think you got better. You got different. And I think that's good. I think they needed to maybe get a little bit different, especially when Mitch Marner controlled the cards. But I think their third line is going to be better. You take a look for maybe some steps forward in guys like Nyes. You mentioned the guys that came over last year. But they didn't get better. They got different. Mm-hmm. And I'm still thinking they need to get a more dynamic defenseman. Yeah. They need a guy to change that look back there, guys. So, different doesn't beat the Florida Panthers in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that's the goal. Like, that's
ultimately what it is. Yeah. It's very focused. Like, Florida's the team. You've won 2 rounds in 20 years, and both times you ran into Florida and they beat you. And this last time they kind of embarrassed you because they spotted you 2, and they spotted you a 2-0 lead in Game 3, and we saw how it played out. All right, we'll continue with role play level of concern. We've got Brad Fax. We've got Steve Sands coming up of the Golf Channel NBC on Keegan Bradley, snubbing Keegan Bradley. That and more still to come with Sandsy. And the NFL season right around the corner, the college season right around the corner. We'll get to that in about 20 minutes. Jay's back in action tonight as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Matt Chadam in about 15 minutes, Super Bowl winner with Bill Belichick in New England. And Bill is going to start his new voyage as a head coach in college football coming up this week. And he and his girlfriend, I guess, have tried to trademark the term gold digger, which, how do you trademark that? Like, how can someone own a phrase like that is just everybody knows and uses? And it just feels like...
They didn't come up with it. They didn't make it.
Exactly. Gold digger's been around. That term, everyone knows what it means. It also just kind of feels like Bill's not in on the joke, that it seems like it's just awkward, man. Like you're trying to make light of a scenario where the rest of the world's kind of looking at you saying, yeah, I don't know if that's a trademark as much as a kind of mirror looking at the two of you right now.
This is so weird, this whole whatever Bill Belichick is doing here, man. This guy was one of the most fierce competitor coaches in the NFL, winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Now he's trying to trademark the term gold digger with his 20-something-year-old girlfriend. It's really weird, man. It's a weird career arc. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's I find it
North
very
Carolina.
odd.
North Carolina. He's not coaching at USC or Texas or Alabama or Ohio State or Michigan. It's another thing. It's just a weird school. He's got no connection to it. Why are you at North Carolina? What are you doing?
But did you not finish the rest of the article? He's also trying to trademark "What's up" and "How you doing."
Exactly. That's what it's almost as ridiculous as that. Trying to, I'm going to trademark "hello" and "goodbye." Those will be ours. And no one's ever used this before.
He should reach out to Taddy and get in touch with him about his trademarking people.
But the Tab Man legitimately owns that.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Yes Guy was not. I wasn't a kid. I didn't know that. Kanye West doesn't have a song called Yes Guy. Yeah, that's his. He owns that.
Man, I wish though if Kanye wrote a song called Yes Guy, Taddy would take him for so many millions. It would be amazing.
I need that track, man. It'd be the song of the summer too. It'd be just a phenomenal beat.
One of these people, one of these EDM or a rapper needs to slip up and make a song called Yes Guy, and Taddy is just going to come over the top rope with multiple lawsuits.
I need that so badly. I need it. I ain't saying he's a yes guy. Whatever. We need it. We need to put the beat to it. We come in with Gold Digger, and we'll try to loop over some yes guys on top of it. We'll try to make this work.
It would be all time, man.
Yeah,
Taddy would be moving into some penthouse downtown.
Very lucrative.
Oh yeah,
Tapman would be. He if Drake did it, he'd just go right to his house on the bridle path.
Taddy would go from
taking that now.
White underpants to strictly gold underpants.
Yeah, that's right.
All the time.
Gold member.
Non-negotiable. Silk gold underpants.
All right, Matt Chadam coming up and Steve Sands coming up on our best bets as well. Jays Twins tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
The OK Tire CFL Labor Day weekend, Sunday on TSN.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Now, I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke.
No guy.
Love it. Drop that tap, man, one more time.
No guy.
I love this. Don't even try it. Do not even try it. When it comes to trademarking, and Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, they're trying to trademark the term gold digger. There's no way that passes.
No chance,
No
man.
chance. Like, that's for the people, man. That's for the general public. You cannot take that away from people. But, you know, if you're going to try to go at someone with a trademark, I'd like to see Kanye try it, right? Try it.
That's
Go
a
after
great
the tab,
little
man.
warning.
He'll take you down.
Like, JP is just in cahoots with Taddy, and that's a good little warning. You send it to someone's email to warn them that, like, the lawsuit's coming if you don't stop with the yes guy isms out there.
Mess
And
around.
you open
No
it up,
guy.
the audio file plays, and there it is from JP.
Yep. Don't mess around. Do not mess around. Kanye, Drake, anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got Matt Chadam coming up here in a moment, who's won multiple Super Bowls with the Pats back in the day playing for Bellichick. Get his take on, like, what this is going to look like with him in Carolina. And I've seen some videos that they've produced of him during camp, and he looks and sounds like Bill Belichick, right? Like, he looks and sounds like Belichick. He's right in there. He's paying attention to detail. You know he's going to treat these kids closer to, like, professionals, but you got to be careful with that because they're not, and it's college, and it's a brave new world in college football where if players don't like the way they're being treated, don't like the way they're being utilized, they'll leave. They'll hit the transfer portal, go somewhere else. So it's there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in college
That's
football.
a slippery slope, though, man. Like, this whole thing about being scared about guys leaving because of the transfer portal and the NIL, the guys that are going to do that, I feel like they're just going to do that. They're just wired that way. Like, it's inevitable that these guys will take the easy way and play for 4 schools in 4 years and chase the money, and that's the reality of, like, this changing landscape. But if you start making every decision based around how do I keep this guy happy and that guy happy, then no one's happy. And it's like you just got to be – Bill Belichick has to be like Belichick 2.0, the college football coach. It's not going to be New England Patriots Belichick, but whatever this new version is, he's just got to be consistent with that, because if he starts pandering to this guy and that guy, forget about it, man. Mm-hmm. Like – everyone will be upset.
Build it and they will come. That's what you got to hope for.
But Frankie, I think to build on what you're saying, you have to be who you are as a coach. Because if you aren't who you are, if you aren't true to yourself, then you're not the coach that was successful, or you're doing things kind of in a half-assed way that you do. So, whether you're right or wrong, do it fully to what you believe is true and right in your system, the way you treat players, and it'll work. But if you're second-guessing yourself, man, that gets ugly quick, and the players know. They can tell. When a player's unsure, when a coach is unsure of himself, they get picked apart in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that gets silly. Hey, like you must have seen it over the years. You got a coach, you're like, guys talk. They're like, pretty sure this guy has no idea what he's doing, and he's like, he might be like the school teacher that's just one step ahead of the lesson plan. Couldn't tell you why we're doing it, but this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I learned it last night. You guys are learning it tomorrow. Like that's. There's situations where, like, that's not that far off, honestly.
No, you're right. Like, especially, you're right, with, like, coaches, politicians, celebrities. You have this impression that, like, there's so much time and effort going into it, and they're totally prepared, and nothing could throw them off, and they're these perfect people, well-oiled machines. And a lot of times it's a complete disaster in the background. And they're just piecing it together, and somehow it works. And if you meet people, you're like, how is that guy like top 10 in wins all time? You wouldn't believe it. Like if you hung around with him for 10 minutes, you'd say it's impossible. Lost his phone 3 times, doesn't know where his wallet is, but somehow makes it work when you have to
why
make
would you
it
go
work.
to UNC? If you're a player who's recruited by him, by Bill, or by his staff, whatever, you want to be coached by him. That's why you're going there. You think he's going to make you be able to coach you better than any other coach who's recruiting you. And really, that's what every player wants, especially when you're young. I want to be coached up. So if you go in there, you're accepting whatever Bill is as a coach because you think it'll get you to the level you want to be more than other coaches. And I think so. He's got to be himself. Be true to yourself, man. That's what he's got to bring.
Well, he's going to have the hoodie on and the sleeves will be missing. And the weather's going to be relatively warm in North Carolina all season.
Yeah.
Right? The college year ends in end of November. So if they don't make the playoff, and I don't think they will, maybe they'll play a bowl game, but he may not have a hoodie all year. Who knows?
No.
I guess he'll hit the road and play road games.
In a way, though, Belichick coaching college players, he can be more firm than with NFL guys. NFL guys, you got to massage things, egos, big money, like salaries at play. And I get that now with the NIL, but realistically, man, like you guys lived it in junior hockey. The coach, it's like a dictator.
They run everything.
It's a dictatorship in junior hockey. It's not until you get to the pros where it's like you got to start massaging egos.
Yep. And there's no owner here. Now it's a state school, I believe. So there is an element of that in terms of it being publicly known what he's making and all that kind of stuff. But Robert Kraft was still technically in charge in New England. He did have the ability to walk down and fire Bill. You got to think everyone walks on eggshells around him down at Chapel Hill. I mean, who's messing with Bill Belichick at North Carolina? Who's going to keep him in check? It's already been a gong show with his girlfriend and with everything. Like everything that's been going on has just kind of got this weird kind of circus-like vibe to it. No one's going to put him in check. No one's going to stop him. He's just going to continue to do what he's doing. I'm curious to see what they've got. Like I'm really curious to see, you look at what Deion Sanders did to Colorado when he got there. And obviously he brought Shedeur with him. He brought Travis Hunter. So immediately they had talent. They had players that people were familiar with. I'm not overly familiar with players at North Carolina. I'm sure if he's there for an extended period of time, they will get highly, rated recruits, and they'll get big names, and there will be players that you'll get to know. But Deion alone put Colorado on the map. Like Colorado has no football history at all, none. And you had to find out what they were doing. I was checking box scores all the time. I may not watch every game, but I wanted to know how did they do. Did they win? What's Deion saying? What's he going to say after the game, before the game? How's he going to game plan for this? I anticipate it being similar with Belichick. He won't be as lively and personable, and like Deion's a show. Deion, every time he speaks, you got to hear what he's going to say. Belichick's different, but he has an aura to him where I want to know how Carolina's doing, and I've never wanted to know that in the past. So he's going to have a lot of eyeballs on that program. Here's a guy that knows him well from a professional standpoint when he was still coaching in the NFL, Super Bowl champ down in New England. Here's former NFLer Matt Chadam. Matt, what do you anticipate Belichick's first year in college to look and sound like in terms of the spotlight being on him and his ability, if he wants to get a lot of eyeballs on a school that doesn't have a really crazy football history?
Well, I guess off the bat, it'll just be interesting to see how kids respond to him. I know they're excited. It's a sort of chance of a lifetime to have this sort of narrow window where a guy with his resume sort of slides into that world. But it won't go on into perpetuity. He can't do it for presumably 15 or 20 years. Maybe this is a chance where if you just came there as a freshman, you may get him for your full 4 years. Who knows? But in my view, that kind of makes it almost more attractive, especially if you're one of those high-end guys that says, hey, I might not stay for 4. It'll just be interesting to see how the guys that he's attracted to the place in this short amount of time, how they respond to him early on, right? Because college is so much different as far as, these aren't professionals yet. You have a limited amount of time. You're really capped in how much you can do with them. Can they get up to speed in that amount of time, in their high teens and early 20s, like he was always able to do that with guys much older with much more time on their hands. So that's the challenge. I think it's going to be exciting. I'm certainly interested in looking to watch too, but I don't think anyone knows, even Bill. I mean, he knows how to coach the game as well as anyone on planet Earth, but this is a new challenge.
Did you ever envision this kind of career arc for Bill Belichick, like leaving the NFL, coaching college ball, but not even really at such a prominent football school? But is this something that if someone told you this was going to happen, 15 years ago, would you have believed that this is something that would be coming true?
I think one of the big lessons in the NFL life as a whole is that you can't be surprised by anything. I mean, it just most guys, Tom Brady. If we had the same conversation as Tom as a Buccaneer, you said, "No, of course not." This right. Stuff, the unexpected happens, right? It's just kind of part of it. So I mean, right now, where's Pete Carroll's in Vegas? I think, right? Yep. Yeah. I mean, just the point of this is just don't be prepared to not be surprised by just about anything. Is it the first guess I would have made? No, but I think it can reinvigorate you. Maybe it's a little bit like Tom's situation, a new environment, new people to sort of interact with in a new place. Like you said, that you're dealing with maybe a highly touted 19-year-old kid or, a kid who transferred in who's 21 or 22 and just looking to push it across the line to get in the NFL. That's a different kind of dude. It's a different kind of challenge. You wake up and do something different each day, and he's on the sort of 19th hole here of his professional career. And sometimes just that new thing at the end, I think, can, give you a little more juice and keep you rolling.
As far as the on-field game planning, how does that shift from what he did in the NFL to now working with younger athletes in college with shorter timelines?
Yeah, I mean, that's an awesome question. I think as much as anything, we were always kind of considered like a place, both sides of the ball, really all three elements of the game, where it was sort of like graduate level stuff, where, we could handle way more defenses on a weekly game plan than most, right? We're gonna be multiple, we're gonna be different. You can scout the hell out of us from what we did a week ago, but we're gonna do something different now. Offensively, it's like, you do this massive install through these exceedingly long camps, and you're gonna be multiple all year long. You're gonna be the team that has a harder sort of approach to prepare for. College is so incredibly limited with time, and with young kids who just may not be there yet to be able to do that. That's kind of one of the cool sort of twists to this. How much of what he wants to do can he do? And he'll be learning in real time as we watch it ourselves. But the one thing I know is they'll never have been as prepared as they were now. I mean, you can imagine these kids. I've got a high school senior now. Awesome coaching staff. I mean, as good as you can ask for at the high school level here in Massachusetts. But the way they're prepared at high school level is so much different that you went from really good high school program to a year later as this freshman with your eyeballs just popping out of your head like, what the hell? How does this guy know that? Or where did he come up with that? Or I thought I watched film the last 3 or 4 years of my life. I'd never seen that before, right? So it's just sort of like graduate level in a hurry. So how well the kids take to that at a young age, and I think some will just respond exceedingly well to it. It's like, wow, he's giving me the answers to the test. If I just do what he says, that I can have success. So that's generally the message. It's like, wow, never been given such great information. What am I going to be able to go do with it?
With Super Bowl champ, longtime Patriot Matt Chadam, you mentioned Brady a moment ago, and there's a report out today that the NFL will now allow Tom to take part in production meetings with coaches and teams this season, obviously working with Fox. And last year, Brady was banned for much of the season from the information gathering sessions because he's a minority owner of the Raiders, and he has not hid from that. He's been around camp. He shows up. He's wearing the Raiders gear. He's on the field. He's pretty heavily involved in that. What do you think his end game here is, Brady, in terms of, continuing to work for Fox, but also trying to help Vegas get over the top? And do you think he can marry the two, and it's going to be all good for him on both sides, for the next 5, 7, 8 years?
I don't know, but I do know that it's a massive TV deal.
Yep.
It's the kind of money you don't turn down. It's a great gig, and he's going to get an opportunity to continue to grow in that. But, I mean, from obviously not doing the level of games that Tom was, but I did years and years of production meetings for our TV broadcast stuff and preseason games and things like that, and all of our ESPN college football stuff. And I can't imagine as the color guy going into a game without part of that. I mean, it's just a lot of the material you need. When the camera light goes on and there's dead time between plays and you got to talk to the roster, those conversations you have back at the hotel the night before are huge. And getting a little perspective from the coach on what they're seeing, what they're thinking, what they're doing, it's helpful, man. It's just content. You know, you're trying to get through 3.5 hours of talking. So, you know, handcuff the guy a little bit to be able to, like, you can't interact with him. Just show up to the game and watch some film on your own and hope your relationship with your play-by-play is great. I mean, it is a little weird, to be honest. So to let him just kind of do the normal course of things, that just seems natural, I guess. Like, I don't understand how they were ever going to expect different than that. Now, how can it, you know, coincide with him trying to grow the Raiders? I don't know, but they allowed it. So, you know.
Do you think the teams will be comfortable, though? Like, do you think the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Broncos are like, come on in, Tom? Like, do you think, how can you do that?
Yeah,
got
exactly.
a notebook?
It's weird, right? It's weird. I don't know, right? I mean, are you going to be, you know, standoffish, a little bit cold? You know, you have to make available certain players. You send in, you know, the last guy on the roster, not your quarterback. I don't know, how does that work? Like, it's kind of a, you know, it's a little bit of chess, but I think also something that could be interesting is, you know, you get late in the season and, you know, Tom is a charismatic guy. He's an awesome dude. Obviously knows that position as well as anybody. And you could have him in a position where he's, you know, just chatting with guys that may become free agents someday, you know? So it's a weird dynamic, but it's apparently allowed, and I'm sure he'll make the most of it.
You know, we were talking about Bellichick and how, you know, you shouldn't be surprised by anything. You mentioned Pete Carroll and Tom Brady. I mean, maybe this is fairly obvious, but do you think this is really it for Bellichick? Like, do you think there's even a slimmer of a chance that he would return to the NFL in the right situation?
I mean, I think all those things are decided, you know, how these next couple of years go there. I mean, if he just, you know, does exceedingly well, they're, you know, in the tournament at the end of the year, they surprise people, they load it back up with an incredible recruiting class, and all of a sudden you've made a place that was, you know, an ACC school, but like a next tier, you know, it's not like a perpetual top 10er kind of place, but you do that really quickly. You meet really big time goals that you might have in a short amount of time. Yeah, then maybe your point of view changes, but I don't know. It's a new challenge. The NFL life is a lot different. You know, you're doing different things. You're not recruiting kids. You're working budgets and free agency and all that. I know ISL's a little bit similar, but it's just all I would say is he can't know that, I would presume, unless he came into it wanting to get back and was using this for something else. All the things I've heard from friends and other people that know him and other people that are down there now is that this is authentic. He wants to go down there and make that place successful, and maybe that in and of itself will be incredibly fulfilling, and then you're done. But, you know, if it goes an unexpected way and we're sitting here 3 or 4 years and there's a weird opportunity out there for another couple of years at a place up here in the NFL, maybe that's too. I mean, I just think we're so far from, you know, him experiencing it, much less, you know, looking at other prospective places.
How do you think his other college coaches are viewing this massively well-known NFL coach coming down to coach in college?
I would imagine it's a fun little challenge just because college concepts can be different. You know, the stuff that you're running is there's a lot more spread concepts. There's a lot more, hey, you know, this is not professional offensive line play. This is get the ball out quick. This is, you know, guys with giant, you know, 4-foot placards from the sideline calling in their plays. And, you know, there's ways you can work over other teams if you're not sort of familiar with operating in that world. And he's presumably bringing in this heavy pro style, both sides of the ball, how the whole operations run, and that versus a more traditional college thing. You know, I guess we haven't seen what the result of that would be, but you know, it's just got to be fun. You know, it's not as if guys haven't had big challenges against Bill and won them in the NFL when you'd see first-time head coaches or up-and-coming new guys that get their big shot. Bill's won his fair share and lost some too. So I don't know. I just think it puts juice in everyone. You get to play for him, you're excited. You get to play against him, you're excited. And, you know, guys generally try to rise to that.
With Matt Chadam. So what's the every time we talk to you, we're talking barbecue with you and Rub Smoke. Is it Rub Smoke Love? Rub Smoke Open? Yeah, Rub Smoke Love. How are we feeling about that these days? Because still barbecue season up here in Toronto.
Yeah, here too. I mean, it's you kind of transition. We have Labor Day coming up, and we have a big event for about 250 people. We're not a caterer, but we're a manufacturer, so we sell. I think we're in about over 400 stores up here in the Northeast right now. So it's chaos. We just added a new chain for September 1st, so we're just kind of trying to hold it together as all young small businesses are growing fast too. So we've just transitioned. Labor Day is obviously a huge day, and then you move into sort of tailgate time, right? And what you're aiming for then, what can be executed in a parking lot a few hours before game day is a little different than the guy that's trying to do all day long briskets and things like that at home for the weekend. So we're trying to be versatile. So our stuff is great for just about all of it. But it's a fun time of year. People love to eat at games, and we got the stuff to do it.
I love it. Awesome, man. Good luck with that. Enjoy the season. We'll do it again soon. Thank you, Matt.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Matt Chadam, Super Bowl champ, entrepreneur. Yeah, that tailgate down in the States, man. You like the barbecuing, the whole scene. And it is go time.
Dude.
Like college football this weekend, the NFL coming up. Like the next 5 months is just this is the whole American sports scene is about this.
They live for this, man. And I'm on
football.
I'm on his website right now, and you can clearly tell like this is tailor-made for that type of thing. He's got an 80-ounce tub of the signature rub, right? Like this is a massive vat of the seasoning, industrial size, and that's what people are going to need for these tailgates. Like I don't even know how long 80 ounces lasts you. Maybe 2 games,
through
3
September.
games.
Yeah, exactly. Down there,
it's not like this stuff is made for tailgates. This is hilarious.
Yeah, I love it. It's a cottage industry, I guess, but it's a significant one. It's an industry within an industry within an industry. Tailgating. You got 4 months and get after it. And that's, I guess, what Matt Chadam and others are going to be doing. All right, we got about a month until the Ryder Cup. The American team has been announced. We'll wait on the European team. That's coming out in a few days. On paper, I think the Europeans are better, maybe substantially better. Keegan Bradley did not put himself on the team. Purely captain material, will not play. Did he make the right call? Steve Sands will answer that and more. We'll catch up with Sandsy next. Best Bets powered by FanDuel later in the hour on Jays Twins tonight. Eric Lauer on the mound. Big start for him. Anytime he's going to get the ball to start a game, he's trying to prove himself, to Schneider and Pete Walker and Atkins and Shapiro. And even if he's not going to start games in the playoffs, and I don't think it's likely he will, you want to make that playoff roster. You want to find a way to contribute in some way. You want to stay on the team. Right, and
I would think he's done enough to do that.
He's had a great year.
Like, it felt like
really good for him.
He had a really good year. Like, you could say that he saved the rotation at one point. Like, he kind of fell victim to the numbers game, really, with Bieber coming in, and it's like, yeah, we're paying Berrios a lot of money. He's going to be here a long time still. Like, Lauer became the guy that was the odd man out, but not based on his play. So, yeah, for sure he wants to continue to pitch well. Everyone should continue to want to play well, but I think he's built a really solid foundation of trust at this point.
What he's done is guaranteed himself a spot somewhere in baseball next year. Like someone's going to give him a contract. I don't know what his contractual situation is with the Jays. We should look that up. But if it's a scenario where he's free agent this year, someone's going to give him some money. It's not going to be exorbitant. It's probably not going to be a long-term deal. But I think he's done enough for teams that are constantly looking for pitching to say, here's a lefty who put up good numbers. We'd like you to be a part of our team, right? We'll give you some money. Come on in a 1 or 2 year deal, maybe a 3-year deal, a little bit of flexibility. So you're not only pitching even for your own team, you're always trying to perform for the rest of the league if you're a bubble guy, right? You're just trying to stay employed, keep making money.
You just want to keep giving them reasons not to take you out of the lineup or not to shelve you, right? And that's and if they have to, you want them to feel bad about it. Hey, you don't deserve this. We're sorry, but we're just caught up. Just stay ready. We're going to need you. And then you get your chance. You perform well, and they keep counting on you. So he's done a great job for himself.
Yep, he's been really good, and in action tonight. Now the Ryder Cup. It's going to be a great September, October coming up, man. Like, the sports world is going to be so electric with the Jays in the hunt. Hockey camp's opening in a couple of weeks. You've got the NFL starting next Thursday, college football this weekend. But Keegan Bradley, he got jammed up the second they announced he was the captain because he was always going to be in a bind where he was not likely to play himself into an auto pick. He was not one of the top 6 guys. Likely was not going to be, just based on his history, his age, who he is. He was always going to be right in the middle, like right 10th, 11th, something like that. And then what do? Do you put yourself on and then you look selfish and then you've made it more complicated because you're a playing captain? Or do you do what he ended up doing and just pull the plug and go with somebody else? I can understand why he did this. I think, the U.S. team jammed him up by putting him in this position, but his captain's picks, which he announced today, Justin Thomas, Sam Burns, Colin Morikawa, Cameron Young, Patrick Cantlay, Ben Griffin. I look at that team. Now, J.J. Spawn, Harris English, they made it automatically based on what they've done the last 2 years. But Spawn, English, Cam Young, Ben Griffin will not scare Europe at all. Like, those guys,
no way.
They will be licking their chops. Like, could you imagine John Rahms paired with J.J. Spawn, on singles at the Ryder Cup? Or you've got, Justin Rose is like, who am I playing? I'm the definition of a veteran at the Ryder Cup. Oh, I have Ben Griffin. Let's go.
Yeah,
I love Europe this year, and it's very tough to win on the road. But I like the Europeans. I think I would have liked the Americans maybe on par if Bradley was playing, but he's not.
The reality is Keegan Bradley should be playing on this team, and you're right. They jammed him up by making him the captain, and what was he supposed to do? Because if he makes himself a captain's pick, which he was entitled to do, and he would be very deserving, but he adds so much more pressure onto himself when it comes to like how you're going to allocate your time as far as like picking your teammates, your pairs that are going to go out, strategy, and then worrying about your own game. Like there's enough to do on both sides where it's like it feels like you could only do one to its fullest ability. But why, like, Hayes, what about this? What if he just said, like, he didn't make it last time around? Zach Johnson didn't pick him.
He should have.
He should have. He was a snub last time.
That's right.
What if he just said, like, guys, I want to play. Can someone else be the captain?
Right.
Like, how many more kicks at the can do you get to play in a Ryder Cup? I don't know. I guess, like you said, if he didn't play himself into the top six this time, it's going to be harder in 2 more years. And his energy when he plays at a tournament and he's in contention is exactly what the Ryder Cup is all about, especially on home soil, especially at Bethpage Black. So I think it would have been a no-brainer for him to play, but him being the captain just got in the way too much.
It's too
and
bad.
Now this is what you get, and it's too bad, and it's a shame because he should be playing.
He's not a young guy. I think he's 38. It's one thing. Maybe he's there in 2 years in Europe, but on American soil in 4 years, probably unlikely. This was your chance to play, for your country and what is going to, what's being anticipated as the most rowdy golf event of all time. It's just going to be insane in New York. And he's still going to be front and center as a captain, and he'll be the voice box for the team and, all that. But I look at it, and it would have been just more entertaining. Just would have been
for
cool.
Sure.
Like player captain, that would have been really, really cool.
He would agonize over this. I think this is something that, I remember I watched the show where he got the call and didn't make it. And, you can see how let down he was. I remember his wife hugging, and I'm like, it was just like, it was so sad. And so I wanted him to have that experience. Unfortunately for him, I just think doing both have been too much. But the decision, because in his heart, he probably knows he should play. He should be a player.
Oh, yeah.
But he also wants to be the captain. Like I believe that'd be a great honor to be asked to be the captain of this team and be the one who gets to steer the direction of it. But, I mean, he probably looked at it from every way, right? If I do play and I'm captain and we lose, well, they'll probably put it on me. But if I don't play, I'm the captain and one of our weaker players struggles, could have been me, and they're going to say I should have played. Like, This guy, he was really in a tough spot. And I feel for him, especially after watching that show like that. I was heartbreaking watching that.
But I put it this way, though. Right, like only so many guys have the capability to actually play and thrive in something like this, and he's one of those guys.
Right.
I think there's a lot of guys that could line up, and he could look at them and say, "Can you step in and be the captain?" Strategy, like guys can brainstorm that kind of thing, right? To actually be able to play, there's only so few guys that can do it. Like we just saw the list; it gets pretty thin quickly. Like I'm sure the European team looks at that and they're like, "Get us out there, man. We can't wait to get after these guys."
You look at what the Europeans are throwing out, and Mike's tweeting and saying, you're disrespecting J.J. Spawn. And Spawn made it. He was an auto pick. He wasn't a captain's pick. He made it. He was one of the top 6 guys. He's earned that. But at the same time, J.J. Spawn does not have a great history. Yes, he's won the U.S. Open. He was in contention at the Players. He's still J.J. Spawn in terms of this level of event and the pressure that comes with it. He's got no history in the Ryder Cup. Neither does Ben Griffin. Neither does Cameron Young. Harris English, again, I don't know how he was an auto pick, quite frankly. I've not heard his name all year on tour, but he is. But the point being is you look at the Europeans, it's going to be Rory and Rahm. McIntyre was there 2 years ago, and he was great, and he's been unreal recently. Fleetwood was there 2 years ago. He just won. He's been great. Rose has been phenomenal. He's been in how many of these? 10? How many Ryder Cups have
consistent,
been in? Consistent, man.
Super
Crazy.
Consistent player. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Hovland's going to be there. Oberg, they're going to play, I believe, and he was there 2 years ago. Fitzpatrick's been there a bunch. Shane Lowry's been there a bunch. Like, they have a deeper team of veterans who are used to it, who get it, who are playing better.
Dude,
like Xander has not had a good year. Schauffele's an auto pick, and of course he's on the team, but he's not had a good year.
And the Americans are going to roll out Patrick Cantlay. He's one of the captain's picks. And like, okay, watching Patrick Cantlay hit a ball for 2 minutes there on the tee, or watching Keegan Bradley go nuts on the green because he just sunk a 25-footer and he's all fired up and juiced up. What do you think fans want to see?
I don't know. And even Thomas, his tee ball has been so bad recently, and I get it. He's a heart and soul guy, Captain America, all that kind of stuff. But he was terrible 2 years ago. Terrible in Rome.
Should not have been there 2 years ago, but that was a buddy thing.
Should not have been there. And Spieth obviously isn't there this time, but still, it's I don't know. I love the Ryder Cup. It's a lot of fun. We were there for the President's Cup, and that's where you saw it. Like, Scheffler's still there. They still got Scheffler, and DeChambeau's going to be great, and Henley's been really good. And there will be a few guys that will step up. I have no doubt about that. Maybe it is Thomas. Maybe it's Morikawa. Who knows? And one or two of the younger guys are the newbies. The Cam Youngs or the Griffins. One or two of them will step up, I'm sure, and play well.
Yes.
But,
how about Bryson?
Europe's good, man.
Is Bryson qualified for this just on majors alone?
Yes.
Isn't that
2 years
wild?
of just the majors, he's an auto pick, which is
we got to
wild.
put some respect on Bryson's name for doing that. And I'm pretty sure, was it Hatton? Tyrell Hatton did the same thing.
I don't know if
alone?
he was an auto pick, but he's like number 7 in points.
Right.
You're right. He's right there. And Hatton's another guy that'll be there that's been on this team for years and is a hothead regardless of where they play.
Like a little gremlin,
get right
just
into
like
it with
with
that crowd.
scowl.
It's
Just
going to be great. It's
yeah,
going to be
kind
outstanding.
of bobbing around there, all angry all the time with his chin stuck out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can't beat it, man. You
Yeah.
can't beat it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the European team, Luke Donald, their captain, will make the announcement, I think, on September 1st. So that's coming up, I guess, over the weekend. But, yeah, Ryder Cup team set. Keegan Bradley not going to be playing, but he will be the captain. And I wonder if Tiger will make an appearance at all. Or is Tiger just out? Like, that's it. Most recent injury, surgeries. The picture where he's propped up with his new girlfriend was really awkward. It's like the last time we've seen him. He follows Charlie around wherever Charlie plays.
I did not see that picture, but if Keegan Bradley was going to say, guys, I want to play in this thing, would he not have called Tiger and
Tiger's
said,
the guy
can
you'd
you
want.
be the captain?
That was the dream, like Happy Gilmore 3 scenario, that Keegan says, I'm playing, we need a replacement, Tiger flies in, right? Or floats the yacht up. You know, that's probably what he would do in New York.
Floats the yacht.
Just like dock it right there in Long Island and make his way to Bethpage. But I don't know. Doesn't appear as if that's going to happen. All right, Jays Twins tonight. We'll get to our best bets. We'll catch up with Sansi a little bit later in the week. The Canadian camp has continued. We talked a lot about that, the orientation camp. They're not on the ice, so they're just golfing, and I don't know what the hell they're doing. Quite frankly, I don't really know what they're going to accomplish.
Well, at least they're not playing ball hockey. Remember when they did that? Was that 2014? They brought them in shorts and in T-shirts, and they just did the systems and ball hockey.
That was Babcock, though, right? That was so typically Babcock. Where it's like, we got to be out here working on our system. And Cooper's probably like, guys, just grab some tea times and have a couple of beers, and who cares?
But honestly, guys, like, I wouldn't play at that level, obviously. I guess Spangler Cup is fairly elite. But
very elite.
Like, at the end of the summer, do you think a lot of the guys wanted to come and do this?
No chance.
And I guess you're asked, but I mean, like, do we really need this? Like, could this been not sending an email? You know,
Totally.
like, just
could this not have been a Zoom call, please?
Like, I get it, like, because your time in the summer is valuable, especially, you look at the guys that were, up front and center there, McDavid and Reinhart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 years for Reinhart in a row. He's got 2 months off,
right?
And I got to come to Calgary, or it doesn't matter where it is. It could be anywhere. I don't know. I looked at those guys. I'm like, is this really needed? I don't.
The Americans are doing the same thing, and you're right.
That's exactly it. It's like AAA hockey when your kid's 10 years old. We don't want Timmy falling behind. The other parents are doing extra power skating. We're doing extra power skating. Americans are having a camp. We're having a camp. No one's falling behind here.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, though, especially with the best players. That they're already on the team. They know it, and you're right. This would be it. Like, you're putting the boat away. This is the last couple of days. You're probably hanging out with the family.
Right.
By the end of August, you would know. You guys both would know this going to camps. Like, you're flying over the next handful of days. Everyone's kind of flying to where they need to go for the most part. Right. Some late stragglers might get in the end of the first week of September or whatever. Second week of September. But a lot of guys want to get there like weeks in advance and be settled in and start having team skates and seeing their guys. And, you got to make a pit stop in Calgary. Now, it's a great honor. You're there representing
100%.
Hockey Canada.
Yes.
And I'm not disrespecting it.
But you're right, though. They're not accomplishing anything. Nothing.
And you get to know each other. Most of the guys at those all the guys that are at the top of those teams, they know each other. Mm-hmm. For the most part, right? Like,
and they know what the team's going to be for the most part.
It's just like, I don't know. We just played together when was that tournament? The
February,
January, February. Like, we're just all there. We're going to change a few kids or a few players, and that's it. Like,
it's good for the young. Like, if you're bringing Bedard, Celebrini, like on the American side, if you're bringing some young guys, just like, hey, be around Sid and Connor, just see how they kind of carry themselves. But outside of that,
look for their ball.
Exactly.
If they're having meetings, like if they're having meetings about systems and stuff, it's pretty simple. We're playing a 1-2-2 in the neutral zone. Everyone's done it.
Frankie,
they all know it.
I could send you a text with the 3 systems, our forecheck, our D zone, our neutral zone forecheck. You'd know it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So these guys just blink once and they know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess I'd be honored if I was asked. Obviously, I'd go. I would crawl on my knees. But
well, what if they did a
10
Spengler
times?
Cup reunion? Like if they called you out of nowhere and they're like, Strud, we're going to go.
Yeah.
We're going to Switzerland this year. We're going to Davos. We need you to drop the puck, and we're going to have a little silver medal reunion there.
The silver medal. You know what? I always thought I might get the call to be like that, a second assistant coach. You know, the guy. You know, there's always the cool guy, and then there's like someone who knows what they're doing that plays or a coach over there. Then it's like the honorary guy. You know, and I'd just be there working the door, like, how can I help you? You know, like Messier was a coach one year, right? What can I do?
Yeah.
You know, what can I help you with?
You got an
never got the
earpiece
call.
It's like it's an earpiece to nowhere. It's decorative only.
Right. It's completely useless.
That is fair.
But it looks great. It looks very legit, doesn't it?
And you're
Earpiece
slicked
guy?
back. Like hair, slicked.
Always
Suit,
looks like he's up to
tight,
something.
really tight.
Yeah, I like that. Listen, I'm holding out hope for you, Strud. I think that should happen at some point.
Joe Thornton got it, right? He got the tap.
That's right.
You know what that coach, like if that was you, your job is strictly just to get on the officials for bad icings. Like puck got deflected. That's not where the face-off is. Like that's your job. You're all over them.
Yep.
Being irrational is what you're saying.
Be a great gig, though.
Irrational.
Christmas time somewhere over in Europe. Be amazing.
Oh, come on.
Be
It's
amazing.
beautiful over there. It is beautiful. It's so nice.
Yeah. What a setup. All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. We'll come back on that. Jays Twins tonight. Wrap up a busy afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Looking at the Jays game tonight. Jays money line. Lauer pitches a gem. Simeon Woods, Richardson on the mound for the Twins. We saw Austin Martin in the lineup for the Twins, this week. Obviously, we know those guys were involved in that Berrios trade. But I think the Jays get back at it tonight. I think they win, and they win by at least 2. 2+. Jays on the run line paying plus 108 tonight. Best bets powered by FanDuel. All right, so we got Jays Twins tonight. We've got college football this weekend. We got the NFL a week tomorrow. It's pretty crazy, man. It happens quick. Happens quick. And before you know, we're going to have opening night in the NHL. We're, 5 weeks away from that? Opening night?
Yeah, we got just 1 million preseason games to get through before we get to the regular season.
They've reduced some of them, right? They're down a few, aren't they? Isn't that the plan in the future to go to 84 regular season games?
Yeah, it's going to be like four preseason games, which is really that's all you need. Yeah. Because even if you wanted to give one of your junior guys a token game, you can do it. You don't need 8 games to do it. Like we've run into a situation now where you literally have 2 teams for the entire preseason. You have your A team that plays at home, and your B team goes on the road. You make some cuts, and eventually you get down to 35 players, and then you're at your 23-man roster once it's all said and done after 8 preseason games. It makes no sense. But we're not doing that anymore, which is great.
Well, something else. This is the last year of fitness testing, and I just can't believe they're not having the fitness testing anymore. I don't know if I'm not offended, but I'm like, why wouldn't you want to know where everybody's at, or even yourself, your progression? I guess you can get it tested on your own, but man, last time, guys, I think this is a big deal.
I think you're right, man. It just seems like a weird thing to give up, just based on principle alone. This is a job where you have to be in shape. It's a prerequisite. It comes with the contract. You have to be in shape, and day one, you got to prove that you're in shape in some capacity, and now all of a sudden the players have fought for it. I guess they've won it, clearly.
I can't believe they fought for this. I never thought in my wildest dreams when the PA would be negotiating a CBA, this is something that would come up.
I agree with you.
I never thought. It's just we all accepted it, and it was normal, and we hated it, but it was one day, and it was we'll get through it. I never thought they'd be we're getting rid of fitness testing. I don't know.
We did it! We did it!
So happy.
What did we do? More money? No, no fitness testing.
Escrow's going up, but we got rid of fitness testing.
Yeah, and we have our own room now in the hotels. Well, we've had that for 5 years. Okay, I just don't. I don't know. It's not a thing. Do we want to punish guys or anything? I think it just sets the bar of, hey, we're all coming in shape, and guys are really competitive about it, right? If Frankie had X for a score, I wanted to beat it. I would get on that bike and try to go for it, and now I'm guessing you just walk in and do your physical, and then you just go and put your equipment on and just go on the ice.
Take some pictures and go for a twirl.
Everything's good.
Well, you can still get bag skater. You could still do a conditioning skate. Travis Green has that notorious one in Ottawa where when he was in Vancouver, guys were hurled over on the ice puking, right? They're 40s, right? You know those, Strud, where you line up on the goal line. You go down and back through the red line, and you got to do it in under 40 seconds. And Travis Green does 6 of them with 2 minutes rest in between, and it's awful. You can still do that. But how do you differentiate between a fitness test and a conditioning skate? My take on that is, you're not writing the numbers down, entering them into an Excel spreadsheet, and they can come back to haunt you later. It's just, you guys are doing this, and we're all going to get through it together. That's a conditioning skate. That's got to be allowed.
I know. What if you're a coach and you see one of your guys a little doughy? Do you try to sneak into the showers to see how chubby he is or isn't? What's the fat percentage at?
No, shirts on. Shirts on in the shower or wherever you're going.
Well, a lot of guys used to do the trick, and they'd come in ripped. Then as the year would go on, they'd get a little chubbier, and their towels would start well below the belt line in September. By the end of the year, it was above the nipple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? Why are your towels so high? He's like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I put a few pounds on. How do you put weight on during the season?
Dude, never could understand that.
Working out.
every day burning like
100%.
thousands and thousands of calories. Is it because you're eating pasta and chicken every day? Like, have rice.
No, you have to
go
work
no
at
sauce.
To put the weight on to the point where your towel goes from below the belt till above the nipples, you have to work at that and really get after it.
You're determined to put weight on.
Well, you
That's
are.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, it's like I remember. I don't want to say the player, but I remember thinking, man, look how high this guy's towel is. Like, I'd see the bottom of his cheeks. You know what I mean? Like I was going to get him a massive beach towel.
That would be great. Comes in with a massive beach towel.
Let's get some coverage down there.
Yeah.
Just hanging it in his stall like, this is your towel now. You don't get to use the regular ones.
What is going on? And this guy wasn't a goalie. You know, like, this is a skater.
That guy would live for this era, man. He could show up in the beach towel.
No problem.
Yeah, there's no
problem,
physicals. Man. No problem. I don't have to worry about anything. You're right. I mean, you can't fool anyone. If you're out of shape, you're out of shape. And coaches know it. And some coaches, they just look for it, or they want it to be there.
Oh,
in a
for
weird
sure.
way, right? They can't wait to say, you guys aren't in shape. Or it's always a new coach. Like, and Noodles bring this up all the time. You'll notice every time someone gets fired midseason, the next guy comes in and goes, they're not in shape. Oh, yeah, the last coach just didn't care about fitness, right? You're the guy that's figured it out. You're hired because – are you a coach or are you a fitness trainer? You know, which one are you? But it's always the card that gets played. Got to get him in shape, and that's what we're going to do. And okay.
But have you guys ever called Noodles and he's answered the phone? You're like, man, you sound like you're going for a walk. Oh, I'm working out. I'm on my elliptical machine. You're on your elliptical machine and you can answer the phone. Like, how slowly you're going. He did that when he played. He'd be on the bike. I gotta burn 200 calories. I'm like, buddy, you can burn 200 calories like walking to the post office and back. Well, no, I gotta get it on my bike. Like, I don't know how he ever. I don't think he
does
probably
do
didn't
the
pass
phone
it.
call on the elliptical a lot.
If you call him after
incredible.
9 a.m. before 10 a.m., you're getting the like semi-heavy breathing elliptical answer.
Right.
That's the
But if you're really
hour.
grinding, to Strutty's point, you cannot talk on the phone.
No,
like if you're
you can't.
really grinding on an elliptical, a bike, a treadmill, you cannot be on the phone at that time.
I think he tries to lower his heart rate when he works out. He tries to get it below the resting.
Right. He's like a snake or something. Like these animals that can live in like outrageous weather.
Did we ever get to the bottom of Strutty saying that Noodles had a back tattoo that he got removed?
Noodles claims that's fake news.
He says it's false. Eh?
Take a picture.
Claiming it's fake
Take
news.
a picture of your back. That's the truth,
he hasn't
man.
done that. You're right.
Like, that's simple solution, right? I called him out. He doesn't want to show it. We know the answer.
Take a pic, and it's over. It's over, but I haven't seen one.
So, man. I don't know.
Seen one.
I guess it is as simple as that. But he basically came on the show. He's like, Strutty's a liar, and he's spewing lies.
Yep. Fake news, he claimed.
I had teammates of his back me up, agreeing that he had a bad tattoo, double down with another bad tattoo over it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. He's going to come out hot now. Probably tomorrow he's going to want to address this again.
You are fake news.
And we'll see if we allow him to do that.
Thank you, Donald.
Yes. Yeah. All right, boys. Good stuff. Good seeing you guys. Thanks for doing this as always. Jason Strudwick, Frankie Corrado. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate that. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and, of course, up on YouTube Live on TSN's YouTube channel. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.